Deadline day has arrived. Premier League teams have until 11 p.m. tonight to get their business done before the window closes. We're set for a bumper day as we bring you expert analysis from former managers and players throughout the day. And of course, we want your views. The Good Morning Transfers team is in place for the next 3 hours, kicking off your deadline day this morning with myself, Tom White, Ade Oladipo and Mark McAdam. A big welcome to all of you watching at home across the Sky Sports channels and to our viewers on Sky Sports News' YouTube channel. So, this is it. It's a day that football fans across the country absolutely love, and we do too. And we start with breaking news, and it's at Liverpool. Ben Davies is having his medical at the club this morning. It comes after the club's agreed a fee of £2 million. That move from Preston that was agreed last night. Right, Liverpool fans, what do you think? Hashtag transfer talk to get in touch. Good morning to Mark McAdam and good morning to Ade Oladipo. Ade, it's a great way to start, isn't it, with some breaking news?
A fantastic way to start, and that Liverpool fans will be ecstatic with this news as well. It's been a war cry from Liverpool fans in the last couple of months that we need a centre-back to come in. We probably need more than one, if we're honest, but look, let's not be greedy. Let's get one in at the door first. And I think this stems back from the summer. They never replaced Dejan Lovren, who went, and they've only had three senior centre-backs at the club: Joe Gomez, Jan Matip and Virgil van Dijk. Fabinho, we know, can go in that position, and I think Klopp earmarked him for that position. He's overplayed him in that position. That's not what Klopp wanted to do. So I think a centre-back has been imperative. It's been important. We've seen 11 different centre-back combinations so far this season, which is ridiculous. Nat Phillips has been pushed into the role. Reece Williams has been pushed into the role. And both of them have done well considering, but that's not what Liverpool want. I thought that if Liverpool didn't get a centre-back in during this window, the Premier League was no chance for me. No chance in the Premier League, no chance in the Champions League as well. That's how important it was. I think Liverpool fans will wake up this morning ecstatic that they are getting a centre-back through the door. And no doubt Ben Davies' social media has grown twofold. In fact, let's go tenfold since this news broke late last night. But yeah, good news for Liverpool fans. Yeah,
tell us a bit more about Davies, Mark.
From the Championship to the Champions, from the Championship to the Champions League. This is a dream move for someone who's plied his trade in the EFL. He was picked up by Preston as an 11-year-old boy, born in Cumbria, playing for Furness Rovers. He's made the journey. He's had several loan spells.
A bit of an issue with your microphone there, so we'll come back to talk about him in a moment. But Ade, how surprised were we by this news? Mark quite rightly said Championship to the Champions. How surprised were we that it's Ben Davies and not someone else, one of their other targets?
Yeah, look, they were linked with a host of different centre-backs in this period. I mean, you went from the Sublimes, the likes of Daya Upamecano, we know RB Leipzig, and there was conversations there about a possible move in the summer, but look, Liverpool always going to face tough competition to get him. Bayern Munich are linked, Real Madrid are linked, there was talks about Alaba as well, and there are interesting ones from Arsenal. Mustafi's been linked, Kolasinac was linked as well. Socrates was linked before he went to Olympiacos, obviously a free agent. So there were other defenders linked. But this one just makes sense for me. I think it makes sense for a number of reasons. First, the age, only 24. We know Klopp likes to develop players. A lot of time to develop him. A left-sided centre-back as well. Liverpool have struggled to find those in recent years. I think that ticks a box as well. And I just think someone coming in that's playing regular football, which was a concern for me. Someone that's coming in that's been playing football. He's been playing for Preston North End all season. He's broken into the squad, as you said, in the last sort of 3 years and almost has become a first choice. Linked to other clubs as well, Sheffield United, Celtic. So I think Liverpool have got someone here that they wanted, identified, and works for Liverpool. Yeah, Paul says Ben Davies will hopefully bring some stability to the defence. And Mel Norris, she's actually a Preston fan, who says Liverpool getting a decent centre-back, hard-working, and has the potential to develop into a solid guy, will be missed at Preston. Well, Jurgen Klopp was asked about this after Liverpool's win at West Ham yesterday, but he was keeping his cards close to his chest.
I'm now going to throw a name at you. Ben Davies, Preston.
Tottenham. So Ben Davies as well, right?
I think there's another one.
Yeah, no, nothing to say about.
But you'd like a centre-half still? And is it possible?
So look, I said it all the time. In our situation, it makes sense. By the way, Nate Phillips played a decent game, and Millie shouted at Hendo, you better be careful. If you play like this, you will play there for the rest of your career. So
might extend it a few years.
Yes, exactly. But so we said we always our eyes are always open, and we try to fix our situation. If we can do it, I don't know.
Well, Davies' football journey to a potential move to the Champions began by joining Preston as an 11-year-old. He made his debut in 2013, aged 17. He's had to fight to establish himself, though a series of loan moves to York, Tranmere, Southport, Newport and Fleetwood. But a breakthrough came in 2017, and he's since become a mainstay at Preston, winning the club's Player of the Year award in 2019. Klopp was once again asked about the player in his post-match news conference.
Yeah, to transfer things to transfer, we don't say anything, so nothing to say about until something is done, if something will be done.
Well, here's how Davies has performed in the Championship for the club. He's their top performing defender for recoveries, but actually 8th out of 9 for tackle success rate. For dual success, he's second, and for passes and passing accuracy, he ranks in top position. Right, Mark, I think we need to hear from you now, don't we? Now that issue is sorted. You know quite a bit about this player, so tell us a bit more than the stats have said.
I started, so I'll finish. At least you can hear me now. I was lucky enough to watch Ben play for Preston at Bristol City just a few weeks ago. And he was one of those players that kind of stood out defensively of the back four on that day. He looked solid, he looked commanding. You look through his profile, as we've just done there, 6'1", left-footed, he's technically gifted. Probably one of his biggest assets is the fact he can play out from the back, he's comfortable on the ball, and that's a necessity for a Liverpool defender. You have to be comfortable on the ball, you have to be able to use those two full-backs, Trent and Andy Robertson, that want to get forward, they want to be receiving the ball in those advanced positions, and he's someone that's very much capable of playing out from the back and doing that. He reads the game really well, and his kind of spatial awareness is really good as well. He can understand what's happening around him. Probably the weakness might be aerially. That might be where the one area where Jurgen might have to really work with him and improve that side of his game. But like you said, Addy, he comes with 250 career appearances already. He's played in the EFL, he's been out on loan a number of times, and he's ready for this challenge. It's quite interesting to think that at the start of this window, he was probably looking at his options thinking, I'm out of contract in the summer. What am I going to do? Maybe I'll sneak a really good Championship club. Maybe I might get into the bottom end of the Premier League.
This is dreamland, isn't it?
I might get to Celtic. That would be an incredible challenge. No. He's turning up at the Premier League champions. This will be bigger than any dreams he had on January the 1st.
Yeah, well, Kean Willow says Liverpool signing Ben Davies is a signing nobody saw coming, but I believe Klopp working with him and him playing in a better side, he'll become a very good centre-half at the club. Saheed, not so sure, though. He says, I don't see it as an ambitious move for the champions. With a strong budget, they've got a reluctance to spend like the rest of the big clubs. But Ade, it's deadline day. Yeah. We've been saying, well, Liverpool fans have been telling us on #TransferTalk all window that they need a centre-back. Why have they waited this long? It's actually the 1st of February.
Yeah, I remember Jamie Carragher in October saying that Liverpool need a centre-back 1st of January, right? We knew the injuries to Virgil van Dijk, we knew the injuries to Joe Gomez. From the 1st of January, they should have got a centre-back in. I do wonder if Jurgen Klopp would have made the move if Joel Matip didn't get injured. It seemed to change. The mood in Klopp's interviews after seemed to change from, we're not looking at anything until the summer, until, OK, we're going to try and get a centre-back in. And I wonder, if Joel Matip didn't get injured, maybe he wouldn't have seen Ben Davies here. But look, it's an important signing. It's a signing that makes sense, not just for the fact that he's a good centre-back, and I think will go on to have a decent career at Liverpool, just from the fact that we can get Henderson away from his position as a midfielder. I think Henderson's struggling, really, not necessarily struggling as a defender, but he doesn't want to play as centre-back. You've got the Euros coming up. He wants to make sure that he's nailed in to start for England in central midfield. And right now he's playing at a centre-back position. I do wonder, though, will you risk playing Nat Phillips and Ben Davies together? I think that's the question. Do you stick Henderson still back there? Do you put Fabinho back there? Or do you try them in their trusted positions in midfield and let these centre-backs do what they're supposed to do?
Well, what we know is that Ben Davies is having his Liverpool medical now, and we'll bring you any updates as soon as we get them, of course, because it is deadline day. We're asking now who else might be busy today. For now, we've picked 3 clubs in Chelsea, West Ham and Newcastle. We've already talked there about Liverpool, plenty more on them to come as well. But Mark, Chelsea, could they do anything today?
I think so. It's quite interesting listening to Thomas Tuchel last week. He said, if there's a possibility that we can do something, then we will. And it's quite interesting when you look at managers that go into football clubs for the first time, the first thing they like to do is make sure they've got a voice and a pair of eyes and ears in the dressing room that they know and trust. The good thing for Thomas Tuchel going into Chelsea is he's already got that in 2 players. He worked with Thiago Silva at PSG. He worked with Christian Pulisic at Dortmund. So he's got 2 players he's worked with before, 2 players he understands, 2 players that understand him. And I'm sure that he'll have a couple of conversations in private with those 2 about, what the dressing room's saying, what are they thinking, how happy are they, what's the thought process at the moment. So whilst he'd love to get a player in and put it in that dressing room just so that he's got an extra pair of eyes and ears, he already has 2. Interesting to see that, of course, they spent huge amounts of money over the course of the summer. Chelsea were one of the big players in the summer, spending in excess of 200 million. Will Roman Abramovich let Frank Lampard go, bring in a new manager, and then go and spend on deadline day? It looks unlikely, but I'm sure if you gave Thomas the option, he'd love to bring one player in.
Well, in terms of bringing a player in, Ade, how surprised are you that West Ham still haven't signed a striker?
Not as surprised as many think. I think when Sebastian Haller left for Ajax, a lot of people thought maybe a replacement was coming in straight away. They were linked, or we heard rumours about a number of strikers, Josh King being one of them, Youssef El Nassiri, Boulaye Dia. So many players were linked. But David Gold and David Sullivan, and we have to reiterate this, since they've been at the helm at West Ham, have seen 49 strikers come through the club. 21 of those haven't scored. How many would you say have been successful? Maybe a handful of them. The decision needs to be the right decision. You can't rush in again to buy another striker. He'll look at it and think they've got enough going forward to get them the goals. Antonio's got 5 goals this season. Bowen's got 5 goals. You hope for a bit more from the likes of Yarmolenko. Benrahma got 17 goals for Brentford last season. If he can get anywhere near half of that target, they'll do okay. And Jesse Lingard coming in could be interesting as well. Look, the last couple of seasons haven't worked out for him, but let's not forget the couple of seasons before that. He was scoring and assisting for Manchester United. So I don't think they're going to get a striker in this window. I do think they're going to look at what they've got, and the goals are going to be shared around rather than them taking a risk and rolling the dice like they've done in the past, and it hasn't worked. So I think they might hold firm until the summer.
OK, well, we'll keep an eye on that. That takes us to Newcastle, because we've been saying all window, Mark, that Newcastle have wanted 2 players. Could that happen today?
Very possibly. Keith Downey is across everything that happens in the North East. He's been saying throughout the course of this window that Steve Bruce is desperate to bring in 2 players. We know that finances are really tight at Newcastle. The 2 players that Steve Bruce would bring into the football club would be both on loan. They've been linked with a whole host of players, but as of yet not been able to get any. You get the feeling that perhaps that first win in 12 against Everton the other day would have just released the pressure valve up there, because Steve Bruce was under huge amounts of pressure. The key target was a midfielder, someone who could make things happen, someone that could be an instrumental part through the middle of the park. They've also been looking at a left back. Some of the names that they've been linked with, the likes of Hamza Chowdhury, Olivier Ncham. At left back, Brandon Williams was someone that was very much on their shopping list, but it seems now from what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said the other day that he's not going to be leaving Manchester United in this window. Jetro Willans as well, who's someone that was on loan at Newcastle before, so they have been linked with players, but the question now is, with that clock ticking, can they get those deals over the line before 11 o'clock tonight?
Right, well, don't forget, you can keep across all of the latest news and sport away from transfers. Our digital platforms are the best place to keep you up to date. You can see how Patrick Reed eased to victory at Torrey Pines. And if you've missed the goals over the weekend, head to skysports.com or the Sky Sports Football YouTube page for all of the action. Use that hashtag transfer talk to get involved in the debate and discussion still to come. We're with Kyle Walker, not that Kyle Walker. And a little bit later on, we have a very special guest with us.
Hi, I'm Matthew Horn. Catch me on Good Morning Transfers, 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. on deadline day.
This is Good Morning Transfers on Deadline Day, and it's a day of firsts here on Sky Sports News for many reasons. For the first time in Sky Sports history, myself and the rest of the Sky Sports News presenters are wearing sustainably sourced clothing. Why? Well, as part of the Sky Zero campaign, we're working with suppliers to reduce our carbon footprint and want to use our voice to discuss climate change issues. These are just a few of the changes that we're making today. Along with wearing sustainably sourced clothing, we're encouraging presenters and reporters to take public transport. We're only sending reporters to 4 Premier League clubs, with others based in Leeds, Glasgow and here in London. Not only that, but we're encouraging everybody to go meat-free throughout the day. These things will all help as we aim to go net carbon zero by 2030. Now, it's time to get to our first guest of the morning. He's joined us throughout the window. It's Manchester City TV presenter Kyle Walker. Kyle, good morning. Great to have you on. There have been some great deadline days for Manchester City. How exciting is it for City fans?
Oh, good morning. Yes, it is massive. Deadline day over the years has been absolutely brilliant. I think all Manchester City fans still remember the Robinho transfer deadline day where none of us believed it would happen, and it did. So, yeah, it's provided many good memories for Man City fans.
Are you hoping for or expecting anything today?
It's a weird position to be in because I don't actually think Manchester City do need anyone. People will talk about the striker situation, but look at us, top of the Premier League. We've still got a game in hand as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see any incomings into Manchester City. So, yeah, I'm not looking out too much for anyone coming today.
Kyle, let's talk about the legend that is Sergio Aguero. How worried are you that this could be his last season at City?
Yeah, definitely. Very worried because he's the last of a team that has created so many memories for Manchester City. There's a picture that often goes around on social media when one of them does leave with another greyed out space. And Sergio Aguero is the last one. We saw David Silva move on earlier on last year, and now you're looking at this right here, Sergio Aguero, what he's achieved for Manchester City, highest goal scorer for us. He's created that moment against QPR as well, but he is still a 20-goal-a-season striker, in my opinion, if he can stay injury-free. And that's the only thing that I think Manchester City fans are worried about, is how many injuries he's had. He's back in training now, though, which is great to see, and hopefully he'll be able to help us lift the Premier League this season.
Kyle, good morning. It's Mark. What do the fans make of the Eric Garcia situation? He's been linked with Barcelona. He's out of contract in the summer as well. What's the thoughts up there in Manchester?
I think very frustrated from a lot of Manchester City fans because he is still getting game time when there's a lot of youngsters that City fans believe are good enough as well. When I speak to a lot of Man City fans day in, day out, they don't understand what the situation really is and why, if he wants to be at Barcelona, why he's not gone yet. Will we lose him on a free this summer? Would that be a bad bit of business? Manchester City fans are always talked about because of that academy, and people talk about the lack of academy players coming through. Yes, we've got Phil Foden. Yes, we've got Tommy Doyle, Taylor Harwood-Bellis as well. But Eric Garcia is one that could slip through our fingers, and I think a lot of Man City fans could be a bit gutted about that because he could turn out to be such a good player.
Now, Carl, we're going to put you on the spot. It is deadline day. If you could sign just one player today, who would it be?
Oh, I mean, just one. All right. The hottest property on the planet right now, Erling Haaland. Come on, let's be honest. If we're talking about Sergio Aguero's future, all right, if he's going to be at the club for too long, he's not. He is getting older. We need to find someone who can become that kind of calibre of player, and that is what Erling Haaland is. We've seen what he's managed to achieve already, and I'm hoping he can grow into a player like Sergio Aguero. We need someone who can score plenty of goals for Manchester City. He's got connections with City as well because of his dad, let's not forget. So that's the one player I'd go to, because imagine him up top. Oh.
How confident are you that you'll be reacting like that in the summer with all the talk of Lionel Messi? Do you think you can get him in the summer?
Oh, I mean, that talk is never going to go away. And if you ask me, as a Manchester City fan, if I ever believed that Lionel Messi would be coming to Manchester City, I would have told you not a chance. It's not going to happen. But those rumours just don't seem to be going away, which is very exciting. But I think maybe that's because of Pep Guardiola. Obviously, there's the link with Sergio Aguero as well. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't, unfortunately, which is heartbreaking, because just imagine that little old City getting the best player on the planet. It would be incredible. So, fingers crossed in summer. I'd still take him. I'm not too sure about you guys.
Kyle, I'm going to ask you about the story that we've broken this morning about Ben Davies having his medical at Liverpool, obviously title rivals for Manchester City. What do you make of that potential deal?
I think Liverpool had needed to bring somebody in for a while. We saw the injury midweek as well, which has obviously meant that they've had to put these plans into place. It's a bit worrying that they've not done that earlier on in the transfer window. Last day of it, deadline day today, you're thinking, well, why is that? Did they believe that they've been able to cope with that? If Liverpool can come out of this and they can still be title challengers, they can still rival Manchester City and Manchester United towards the end of the season, that just shows what this team can do and what this group of players can do, how they can pull together. Jordan Henderson stepping in, going into the back. Manchester City had that problem last season with Fernandinho having to do that. So I think City fans understand the frustrations when it comes to centre-back injuries. But can you win the Premier League without your main centre-back? Manchester City couldn't do it last season. We've had to bring in Ruben Diaz now. So I think Liverpool fans, they'll be a bit worried because they've lost two huge stars. Well, more now. Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez as well as Matip. So I think that, they're a little bit worried. But great news, positive news, and hopefully they can still challenge.
Kyle, every Tuesday that you've been on in this window, I've been lucky enough to be able to watch on my sofa at home, and every week Emma Payton has a laugh with you about the book over your left shoulder. It changed last week, but Wenger's back.
It is, it is. What's quite funny is I've actually got the other book right here, but I thought I wouldn't put that one up. Mark tweeted me earlier on in the week, so I thought I've got to put the Wenger book back just for him. I don't want him to feel left out or anything.
Kyle, it's been great to speak to you all of this window, and I hope you have a good deadline day.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Ada, you asked a question to Kyle there about Sergio Aguero. How sad would you be to see him leave the Premier League?
Very sad. I think, and me and JD were going back and forth a couple of weeks ago, and I said I think he's the best striker we've seen in the Premier League. It's definitely a debate between him and Alan Shearer, Thierry Henry as well. But just an absolutely fantastic player for Manchester City. We're never going to forget that Aguero moment against QPR many years ago to win their first Premier League titles. 256 goals in 379 games for City is absolutely ridiculous. Sometimes I wonder if it's because of what Ronaldo and Messi are doing that we don't look at these stats and awe in them. I mean, that's fantastic for them. What Carl did say, though, is that he's still a 20-goal season striker if they can keep him fit. 23 goals last season. So that argument does stand. But just the 5 appearances so far in the Premier League this season, 9 appearances so far this season, all competitions, it's just not enough, is it? It's just not enough. They are going to need to probably replace him in the summer. And if they do, I mean, Haaland would be fantastic. I hope it doesn't happen, personally, because if they do get Haaland, I think they're going to win the title for many years. But look, fantastic servant for City. And if it is his last season, let's hope he does get fit, score some goals. And let's hope Prowls can come back in, because he's one player that deserves a round of applause from every end of that City stadium.
You get the feeling that perhaps Sergio's looking at the situation, he's looking at everything he's won at Manchester City, and maybe if they have a successful campaign this season, he might just go, I'm going to walk away on a high as a free transfer. I've got one more big move in me, one more big opportunity to get some money and play for another huge club in European football. And if this season goes right, I'll walk away with my head held high, knowing I've achieved everything I wanted to at Manchester City.
Yeah. I know why you jumped in there, Mark, because you know what my next question is. It's the most difficult question I'm going to ask all day. In the Premier League era, is Sergio Aguero Manchester City's best signing?
It's something that will be rumbled and debated
for hours,
days, years. I have to say, I think it would be him or Vincent Kompany, the toss of a coin.
David Silva, Yaya Toure?
They've all been brilliant players. You get the feeling that Vincent Kompany was a leader, was a rock. Without him at the back, Sergio Aguero wouldn't have been Sergio Aguero up front. It was like they were lucky enough to both be at the the club at the same time, the same era, playing at their absolute best in that same team. I think it's almost like a hand in hand. You couldn't have one without the other because, let's be honest, Sergio Aguero's goals would have been nothing if Manchester City weren't keeping clean sheets and winning games. Yeah. So I think it'd be one of those that will rumble on. But Vincent Kompany was a proper leader.
Does he get a statue?
Maybe they could get a statue together.
Can they get a statue together?
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
Yeah.
That's even more of a debate because all the names I've just mentioned, there's still De Bruyne, and I always throw Georgie Kinkladze in there as well.
Oh, let's not forget Georgie Kinkladze.
Alan Oakes.
Right, well, that's the Premier League era. Right, we'll move from one side of Manchester to another as our focus turns to United as we get the perspective on the window at Old Trafford. Plus, we'll be discussing Arsenal next. A very good morning to you. The excitement is building here at Sky Sports News. Always a great day for football fans across the country. To North London now, and we'll get the views from an Arsenal supporter, Pippa Monique. Not been a bad window for Mikel Arteta. Ozil has gone, Odegaard is in. Potentially room for more additions before the window closes. Good morning to you, Pippa. Are you hoping or expecting for late business?
Good morning, guys. I think it's more like outgoings, incomings. I know we're probably looking at a replacement left back, hopefully, maybe another field. But I think there's going to be offloading some loanee signings, hopefully for young players that need to get more game time, in my opinion. But I'm not quite sure. Okay. Arsenal definitely pulled off a last-minute one in the summer transfer window, so it could be the same again.
Pippa, it's Mark. Let's have a little look at one of the incomings for Arsenal, Martin Odegaard. How important a player could he be for Mikel Arteta?
Yeah, it could be vital. I mean, obviously, we've seen a huge loss of a midfield player just gone of Mesut Ozil. I know he didn't get game time, but then there's youngsters now in the midfield. You've got the likes of Joseph Rowe, Saka, who could play midfield, Joe Willock, El Neni, who they see as a squad player. Bringing in Martin, a huge difference. We haven't seen what he could do yet in the Arsenal squad. We've seen a few training videos of how vital he looks linking up with players. He's already nutmegged a few people, got some assists in some training videos. Would be great to see what he can do in the Premier League. Of course, we saw him for about 10 minutes the other day. But bringing in the youngsters to build up a squad, I think the youngsters are the future, of course. And bringing in someone Martin with his quality and coming from a big club as well, I think he could do a lot for Arsenal, hopefully.
Pippa, there has been a lot of conversation in the last couple of days about Ainsley Maitland-Niles going out on loan. First question, are you happy with that? And secondly, if he does go out on loan, do you think he comes back a better player?
It's a sticky situation because I feel like someone with quality who's very versatile, one in the summer when clubs like Wolverhampton were coming in for him, and we could have got a decent amount. Now if he goes out on it's more likely for potential for the club to then sign him. Yes, I want him to get loads of minutes in game time because he's just recently turned 23, got the call up to England, wants to play for it, so he needs that game to play. Arteta's not used. Kind of confusing. I think it's because Ainsley wants position, and as we saw in the summer window, it happened very late on. And I felt like Arteta on to Maitland-Niles just in case we have other midfielders to come in. And now this new squad player who doesn't really come, who can also play and right back, but it's not being used. So if he goes away, I think it will then turn into a permanent deal, which I still in the summer.
Pippa, always great to speak to you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Apologies about some of the audio there. Wasn't quite perfect, but I think we got the points that Pippa was making. What about the future of David Luiz? He's out of contract at the end of the season, having extended his last deal by 12 months. That was last summer. But Mikel Arteta says there have been no talks over another extension.
No, we haven't yet. There is still a few months to go on that. I always talk to him about this kind of thing, so we're in a good position.
So you want him to stay?
I'm really happy. What I want is that he keeps performing like this till the end of the season. This is what I want.
So that's Mikel Arteta there. I think the interesting one here, Mark, is Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I mean, Chris Davison on Twitter here says, using hashtag transfer talk, very important that Arsenal get left-back cover in today. Tierney, the natural option now that Kolasinac has gone, but Tierney's injury record isn't great. Well, yes, Saka can play there, but so can Maitland-Niles. How surprised are you that he could go on loan?
Well, he needs to get game time, and I think he's perhaps been frustrated in North London that he's not played as many matches and started as many matches as he'd have liked to have done. He's 23 years old. The great thing about Ainsley Maitland-Niles is he can play in different positions. Yeah. He can play at left back, he can play at right back. He's also said openly that his favourite position is through the middle in midfield. So when you look at Premier League squads that are struggling for numbers, they've got injuries and suspensions and lots of games coming up for the second phase of the season, to have a player that can fill in and be versatile could be huge. And you'd think that Mikel Arteta would be disappointed to see him leave Arsenal, but also you can understand that he wants to play, he wants to start games, and he wants to fulfil this huge potential that Arsenal have seen in him for so many years. Yeah, Southampton, West Brom and Leicester are the three clubs trying to sign him today. That news is just into us. We didn't know about Leicester until now. Our focus now moves to West Ham. As mentioned before the break, still no replacement for Sebastian Haller up front. Will David Moyes bring a player in? Let's get the thoughts of West Ham fan, multi-award winning musician Governor B. Governor B. Great to speak to you again. How excited are you that you could still be active today?
I don't know, mate. I'm not too excited, to be honest, about potential business. I think after the game yesterday, David Moyes kind of hinted that our business might be done. Got mixed feelings about that. On the one hand, I guess I want to count my blessings because we're 5th in the league, doing well, team are feeling good. I really like the Lingard signing. He brings personality, experience. He's fluid, gets into good spaces. But we need to replace Haller, man.
My good friend, Governor B, how are you, sir? Hope you're well.
I was dreading this, mate.
Still no striker in, though, Governor. You've sold Haller, as you mentioned. He's gone to Ajax. There's been a lot of strikers coming in since David Gold and David Sullivan took over at West Ham. Do you expect a striker to come in, and how vital is it that you get one in?
It's super vital, man. I mean, you look at us against you guys yesterday. Mikel Antonio comes off. We're chasing a goal, and I'm the biggest Mark Noble fan you'll meet, but he's not the guy you want coming on. We need an attacking threat. And look, I think West Ham fans have got PTSD. You know, some of the players we've been linked to in the past include Didier Drogba, Van Nistelrooy, Petr Cech, Cavani, and none of them have come. So in reality, I don't know if we're getting anyone today.
Governor, it's Mark. You spoke about it just now. Jesse Lingard from Manchester United. How happy are you with that one?
Yeah, very happy, man. I mean, the team are playing as one. We're getting the results, other than yesterday, obviously. And I think what Jesse brings is personality. He's a £1.5 million loan player, and I think it's a bargain. You know, England international, Europa League winner, FA Cup winner, played with the likes of Rooney, Pogba. That experience, hopefully, he's bringing into our squad. So I'm a big fan. And also, he moonwalked at the Emirates Stadium. And so I'll pay 1.5 mil just for his dance moves, to be honest.
Governor, do you think the squad itself is strong enough? And is there anyone you'd like to see leave today?
If we're not signing any players, I wouldn't like to see anyone leave. I mean, I look at the likes of Issa Diop. If we needed to raise funds and there's a 30-40 million pound striker that's available, then I'd probably say maybe him, because we could probably get 20 million from him. He's a young player, he's good quality, and he's sitting on our bench. But ultimately, I think our squad is great at the moment. I look at our defence, there's enough reinforcements. You know, Ryan Fredericks came off the bench, and I think he's still got a lot to show for the club. In midfield, we're really strong. Up front is really the only place we need someone. And if we're not going to get them today, my message to West Ham fans is kick back, relax. We're overachieving. Hopefully, David Moyes, he looks like he knows what he's doing. So let's not panic, man. Hopefully, we get someone through in the summer, if not today.
You can kick back and relax as well now, Governor B. You've been fantastic as part of the transfer team all month. Thank you.
No worries, man. I'm a bit gutted because up until yesterday, ever since I've been on Good Morning Transfers, West Ham haven't lost a game. So I thought I'd have to stay on for the whole season, but we've lost now. Yeah,
so you were the lucky charm. Sorry about that result last night. Ade isn't, though. Just on that striker, the first, I think maybe it was the first thing we talked about on the first day of the month here was about West Ham signing a striker. Do you still think it will go through? You've got about 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think we're going to go what Governor said there. Stay patient, adjust, look what you've got. End of the season, make a big signing. Right now, no need to panic. West Ham are sitting high in the league. What, 5th in the league? I think that's good enough.
I would say so. Right, it's a bumper Good Morning Transfers here because it's deadline day. We've got so much more to come. We're going to be joined live by Clinton Morrison and Mark Bosnick as well. He can talk Chelsea, Manchester United, Aston Villa as well. Talking of Aston Villa, DJ Nathan Dorr is going to be joining us. And we also want to hear from you. Hashtag Transfer Talk. We'll read out your tweets throughout the morning. Diallo. But he's been playing fullback, hasn't he?
You did. I know where you've been.
Welcome back and good morning to those of you who are just joining us. This is Good Morning Transfers, and hello to those of you watching right now via the Sky Sports News YouTube channel. It is great to have your company. Coming up in this hour, it is packed because we're joined by former Crystal Palace and Republic of Ireland striker Clinton Morrison. DJ Nathan Dawe discusses his beloved Aston Villa, and we'll also get the thoughts from Mark Bosnick. And we've actually got a quick bit of transfer news into us. I did just mention this in the last hour, but just in case you missed it, on Ainsley Maitland-Niles' future, 3 Premier League clubs are battling it out to sign him on deadline day. Right, we already told you about Southampton and West Brom. They've held talks with him, but they're hoping a last-minute deal can be agreed before tonight's 11 p.m. deadline. But now, to complicate things, Leicester have joined the race to sign him as well. He's 23 years old and they all want him on loan from Arsenal for the second half of the season. Right, so that's Ainsley Maitland-Niles. We're up to date with that. We've got something new into us as well, because Chelsea's Billy Gilmore, he could be heading out on loan as well to Southampton. It looks like any deal would be a loan move. However, it is far from sorted yet. Ralph Hasenhüttl is keen to bring in a player on loan, especially as he's got a number of injuries at the moment. A lot of midfielders having to play in the full-back areas. Gilmore was left out of Thomas Tuchel's squad last night. He had a big injury, didn't he, at the back end of last season. So we'll keep you up to date on that as well. Billy Gilmore could be on his way on loan to Southampton. Right, it's a brilliant day for football fans across the country, despite everything that's going on. We're here to bring you a bit of entertainment over the next few hours. Of one man who knows all about entertaining and putting a smile on people's faces is Clinton Morrison. Clinton, as ever, I've given you a big build-up there. It's time for you to deliver. Right, we're going to start with Liverpool, and it could be a surprising move for them. You've seen plenty of Championship football this season. What can Liverpool expect from Ben Davies?
Yeah, good morning, mate. You know I always deliver, but it's still early, so but I'm going to bring you the energy. No, but Ben Davies is Ben Davies. I think he's been excellent at Preston. I think it will be a great move. It's a dream move if it happens to Liverpool. I thought he signed a contract with Celtic, so to go to Liverpool, I think it's going to be tremendous. Working for one of the best managers in the world in Jurgen Klopp. So good luck to him because it's a dream come true. If someone like Liverpool comes knocking at the door, you can't turn that down. And credit to Preston. I know his contract was running out and he wasn't going to sign the deal, but to get that move over the line, what a dream move. So I wish him well.
Clinton, it's Mark. I know it's early, but where's the three-piece? It's deadline day. Following on from the Ben Davies comment
No, Mark, no three-piece.
You've spoken there about Ben Davies at Preston. Are you surprised that Liverpool have gone after him? Do you think there was other players in the mix, or does he fit the bill for them right now?
No, it's a difficult one because he's still at a young age. He's a left-footed centre half. So if you look at Gomez and Van Dijk, they're both right-footed. So maybe they're looking for the future. And I think Liverpool have tried. They've tried with numerous defenders. It's just this window is going to be so difficult to bring in defenders, and their injury list is getting worse and worse, especially in the centre half area. So you can understand why they've gone for Davies. I wouldn't say a lot of people will say it's a panic buy. It's not a panic buy because I've seen a lot for him in the Championship and he's been really good. So I think he's the future. I think it would be a good buy for Liverpool.
Clinton, Ade here. And by the way, Mark's right. You should have a three-piece, regardless of it being 8 in the morning. But we're happy to have you on, so we'll let you off. Would you expect Ben Davies to go straight into first-team reckoning, especially considering that Nat Phillips has come in the last couple of games and looked so well? Henderson's gone back there. Or do you expect Ben Davies to go straight into that first 11?
Okay, Ade, we can't all look smart like you with the roll neck and the blazer. So I see you looking smart this morning, mate. All three of you look smart. So it's a difficult one. But no, I do believe. I don't know if he'll go straight into 11, but it'll definitely be in and amongst it. And there'll be games where he'll be looking to introduce him slowly. But you're right. I watched Phillips yesterday, and I thought he was excellent. I thought he was excellent alongside Jordan Henderson. And as for Jordan Henderson, I think he's a superb player. Usually a midfielder. The way he's marshalling that back four at this precise moment is brilliant. So I think it will take time for him to get into the team, but eventually he will get in because there'll be time where they want Jordan Henderson to go back into midfield. So I think it's a great signing, Ade, not just for now, but long term as well.
Elsewhere, Clinton, in terms of the Premier League clubs, which team needs to strengthen the most?
I watched Southampton the other day, and they've got a really good 13 or 14, but they picked up a lot of injuries. So I heard you a lot talking about Maitland-Niles. I think he's a player who I'd like to go and see him play football. So if Leicester are interested in him, which you just said, I think that would be a great move. West Brom have done all right business. I was thinking maybe Sheffield United or maybe Newcastle are interested in Chowdhury. So there's a lot. I don't think there'll be big movement in this January window, not like previous years because of the global pandemic that we're in. But I'll be sitting there in front of the TV all afternoon watching you lot do your stuff.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that. And Clinton, we've just broken the news that Southampton are also in for Billy Gilmore. So if not Maitland-Niles, there's Billy Gilmore in central midfield. Would he fit the bill? He's the type of player that Southampton, they like those kind of very tidy central midfielders, don't they?
Oh, that would be a great move. I rate Billy Gilmore. I don't know for the life of me why Chelsea would let him go on loan. For me personally, he should be in amongst it in that Chelsea first team squad. I think he's a talented individual. But to go on loan to another Premier League team, and Southampton in particular, who Ralph Hasenhüttl is doing a tremendous job, and the way they play football, they've got Ward-Prowse and Romeo, but they've picked up injuries in midfield there. I think he'll be a brilliant signing. So good luck to Billy Gilmore. I hope it comes off and he does get that move to Southampton.
Let's talk about one of your former teams now, Crystal Palace. They've released Max Meyer. They brought in Jean-Philippe Mateta, and Roy Hodgson says he doesn't want to lose Christian Benteke. What do you make of their business in January, Clinton?
It was always going to be hard. I think Palace's best bit of business was Eze because he's a superstar. But Matete is good. I've spoken to a lot of people at Crystal Palace behind the scenes, and they say he looks really sharp in training. He scored a lot of goals at Mainz. So I think he'll be a really good signing. And you don't want to lose any of your strikers now in January. You want to keep the likes of Christian Benteke. People might say he's not been scoring a lot of goals, but he brings a lot of other stuff to Crystal Palace's front line. So the way where Palace are at the moment, they need to keep all their players together, and it's not time for selling anyone. But I can't see Crystal Palace doing any big business in January at this moment, and that's because I've got inside sources, but I'm not telling you much more.
1 second, wait, you got inside sources. You're on Good Morning Transfers and you don't let us know what the inside scoop is?
Yeah, I can't do that. You know me, mate. No, I'm only joking. I haven't. Of course, if I had it, I'd tell you straight away.
I hope so. I'll be texting you later. Clint, before I let you go, you love telling a good story.
Right,
I love hearing your stories. What's the best transfer story you can remember?
The best transfer story I can remember was the Odergaard one. That's the best one I can remember because I think one of my friends was actually involved in it. And I said to him, what are you doing waiting there? Why didn't you just go to the hotel around the corner? Why are you waiting outside the ground? And it was a mistake that he made. And I think that's the best transfer story I've ever heard. You're actually waiting for the deal to happen and it doesn't happen. And I think everyone finds that amusing story. But yeah, so that was a funny one for me. Me personally, I never had them stories because when teams wanted me, we got it done because I was that guy.
Well, Clinton, we've actually just got some breaking news from Crystal Palace, actually. It is to do with a signing, but it's a new contract. The goalkeeper, Vicente Guaita, has signed a new deal until June 2023 with the option to extend for another year. How happy are you with that?
I'm happy, but Tom, if you had asked me that two or three weeks ago, I would have told you that because I knew 2 or 3 weeks ago that had happened. So see, if you've got my phone number, next time just hit me up on the phone and I can tell you these things. But it's a great move. It's a great bit of business for Palace. He's been brilliant for Palace this season, and he's the #1 at the moment. But Butland is challenging him, so good times for Crystal Palace.
I can't text you about every single player in the Premier League just in case there's some news on them, Clinton.
No, you can text me because I know every single player. I told you, everyone wants to be Clinton Morrison's friend, so just call me.
Clinton, it's great to have you on Good Morning Transfers. I don't understand why you're tired because you're the most hard-working man on TV. Thanks, Clinton.
Cheers, take care, have a good show. I'll be watching you.
Right, so great to hear from Clinton Morrison there. Let's talk about Liverpool then. They're in need of a centre-back, and the big news this morning is that they've agreed a fee in the region of £2 million for Preston centre-back Ben Davies. The bigger news is that he's having medical at the club this morning. Here's what Jurgen Klopp had to say yesterday when he was asked about the defender.
I'm now going to throw a name at you. Ben Davies, Preston.
Tottenham. So Ben Davies as well, right?
I think there's another one.
Yeah, no, nothing to say about.
But you'd like a centre-half still? And is it possible?
So look, I said it all the time. In our situation, it makes sense. By the way, Nate Phillips played a decent game, and Millie shouted at Hendo, "You better be careful. If you play like this, you will play there for the rest of your career." So
might extend it a few years.
Yes, exactly. But so we said we always our eyes are always open, and we try to fix our situation. If we can do it, I don't know.
Right, so Mark, sorry, you know a lot about Ben Davies. How has this move come about?
It's quite a fascinating move. When you look back at the summer, Ben Davies had 1 year left on his Preston North End contract. He was the subject of a Bournemouth bid, actually, £4 million that was rejected by Preston. They wanted 10 million at the time. There wasn't a second bid. There were a number of other clubs interested in taking Ben Davies, particularly in the Championship, and a couple of outfits in the Premier League. But he decided to stay at Preston. The money wasn't on the table. The club needed him as a part of their Championship campaign. And over the course of this season, playing 19 Championship matches, you've seen him once again develop. He's continued to play well. He's been a rock at the back for Alex Neil. The left side is centre half. He's good in the air. Perhaps his best asset is the fact he reads the game so well. And when you look at everything about this deal, it totally makes sense for Liverpool. Even if he isn't the player that they need him to be or want him to be, is he going to leave Liverpool for less than £2 million in the summer or in 18 months' time? They're going to make money on this player. Yeah. And at 25 years old, he has still got so much football and development ahead of him. When you look at the story, you know, he's had the loan moves across the EFL. He's worked his way into the team. Graham Wesley gave him his debut at Preston when he was just 17 years old. He joined the club as an 11-year-old. And now he's looking at the prospect of playing Premier League football, Champions League football, and potentially, you know, why can't he go and play on the international stage as well? If he has a really successful spell between now and the summer, the European Championships, he could be in the reckoning. So what an opportunity this is for a young man. What a great story for deadline day as well. It's always good to see moves happening early on, and for a club like Liverpool, one of the greatest football clubs in world football, to be getting this player who's just walking into the prime of his life now as a centre half. It's so exciting, and I'm really excited about the opportunity that he's now got.
Even if Liverpool were to loan him out a few times they'd make a profit on him.
Of course.
Mark said he's very excited. I think that's mainly for the player, but for the club, Ade, they have been linked with other centre-backs that might excite the fans a little bit more. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think those are longer-term deals, possibly ones for the summer. I think the biggest one is Dayot Upamecano, who's been linked with everyone, right? Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Real Madrid, PSG, all the big teams have come out for him just because it looks like that time at RB Leipzig could be coming to an end at the end of the season, and the buyout clause doesn't seem to be a big one as well. So you can understand how Upamecano has been linked. Alaba was spoken about as well, but it looks like he could be going to Real Madrid in the summer. So those are the ones that fans would like to hear about. Koulibaly, we've talked about Koulibaly in every single transfer window for the last 20 years, it seems like. He looks like he's going to be staying at Napoli. But then there are stopgap ones as well, which at the time probably made sense. Socrates was linked before he's moved to go back to Greece from Arsenal. Fabrizio Romano spoke about Mustafi being offered to Liverpool as well. So those are stopgap ones. And even potential maybe big money signings in the summer, like Ben White, who I think is doing a fantastic job at Brighton, fantastic for Leeds last season in the Championship. So look, those are some of the options out there. But I think this one just makes sense for everyone involved right now. I think it's great for Ben Davies. 2 million is nothing for Liverpool. It really shouldn't be anything anyway, even during these tough financial times. So it just ticks the box, and then they can reassess in the summer when Van Dijk is back, when Gomez is back, and see if they do need to make a big money signing.
News just into us from League One, by the way, before we go to the break. Charlton have made a £500,000 bid for Crewe forward Charlie Kirk. He's a good player, Charlie Kirk, but Crewe are flying up the table at the moment. They're 10th and only 3 points behind Charlton, who are 7th. It would be a big signing this for Charlton. £500,000 in League One is quite a lot of money as well, so we'll watch that one. But plenty more still to come. We'll have the latest transfer news, obviously, and Leicester have joined the race to sign Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and Billy Gilmore could be heading on loan to Southampton. Next, we're discussing Aston Villa with DJ and producer Nathan Dawe. We've got a host of guests still to bring you over the next few hours. Our next guest is DJ
wants to dance.
Producer Nathan Dorr.
I was close to moving.
Did you know you were in it?
I was close to moving. I was like, what are we doing? The music's nice. Might start shaking.
Hey, we're in a good mood. It's deadline day. That track there with Nathan Dorr with Little Mix. It's huge right now. And Lighter with KSI was huge as well. It's a great pleasure to welcome Nathan Dorr back on the show. Nathan, how happy are you, first of all, with Morgan Sanson?
I know, good morning everyone. I think it's a great signing and I'm really excited to see how he performs. I think he's going to struggle to get in the team at the minute because of how well we're doing, but especially on the last performance. But I feel like it's a great addition and it's just added some much needed strength in the squad depth really, because I think we lacked that last year, so it's nice to get that this year.
Good morning. We've seen how important Ross Barkley has been for Aston Villa this season, but how important is it you sign him permanently?
I think massive. I think obviously when he was injured, we missed him. He come back, took probably a game or two to kind of get back into the swing of things. But I think last game he was fantastic. And before the injury, like I said, he was just brilliant. And I think the way him and Jack link up, it's just perfect. And I really think it's crucial that we can kind of make that permanent in the summer, because I think he's, once again, just a great addition and the type of player that we need now at the club.
Good morning, Nathan. Your music had us dancing in the studio, or me in particular anyway. How much praise does Dean Smith deserve for his recruitment so far this season?
Loads. I don't think he's getting enough. I'm seeing Bielsa this, Bielsa that. It's Dean Smith that needs all the credits this season. I think what's important is the signings we made last summer, which maybe didn't come into light until recently. And he's not getting the credit for that. I think people are talking about the signings we made this summer and not the summer previous, but they've kind of all gelled at the same time. The new signings have kicked off straight away, whereas last season's signings maybe took a season to settle in. And I think it's just his attacking football style, which we were so excited about, is finally coming to light now. The defence, I'm not sure, I'm assuming that's John Terry that's working on that, but that improvement's just been incredible this season. And I think the whole club from top down just seems to be ran a lot more better and shrewd this season. It's just great to see as a fan.
Nathan, we've all got favourite deadline day moments. What's yours?
I would have to say 2012, Benteke. I remember not really knowing who he was and YouTubing him and watching all these goals and thinking, oh, he's actually quite good. And obviously when he come to Villa, he was brilliant. So I'd say Benteke for me. I did put it on Twitter this morning asking Villa fans what their favourite deadline day kind of memory was, and there's been quite a few, especially Simon Dawkins didn't really turn out to be great. I think that was 2013. That was a bit of a memory, but yeah, no, for me, I'd say Benteke, definitely.
Yeah, there was that unsubstantiated rumour that he thought Aston Villa was in London, but I believe that is not true with Benteke. He certainly did well for Aston Villa. He's in London now, of course, with Crystal Palace. Nathan, it's been a great few months for you, music-wise. I take it you plan a tour later in the year, if things when things improve, I hope.
Yeah, I think you've got a plan, just in case, but fingers crossed, by the end of the year, Villa will be in Europe, I'll be on tour, and Birmingham City will be in League One. So that's the aim for the end of the year.
I'm not going to laugh at the jibe about Birmingham there. That was uncalled for, Nathan, but we hope things do improve and you get on tour, and you know where to send my tickets to.
100%, I'll send them through.
Thanks, Nathan. Great to have your company this month.
Nice one. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Right, quick update on the latest breaking news that we've had in the last few minutes. Ainsley Maitland-Niles' future. It's now 3 Premier League clubs trying to sign him today on loan. Southampton and West Brom, they've already held talks with him. They want a deal before tonight's 11 p.m. deadline. But now Leicester have joined the race to take him on loan for the second half of the season. Brennan Rodgers is known to be looking for midfield cover following injuries to Dennis Pratt and Wilfred Ndidi, and has held talks over potential moves for Maitland-Niles and Nathaniel Chalobah of Watford as well. This is what he said yesterday.
Well, I know Nathaniel. I clearly know him from my time working with him at Chelsea, but I know lots of players, and there's a number of players that we're looking at. So yeah, we're looking to bring in a midfield player. So we'll see how that looks over the next 24 hours. It'll be good for the team, good for the squad, and like I said, we have a gap there. So yeah, the club will work hard at looking to get someone in, and if we can do that, that'll be great for us. And then hopefully, fairly soon, the two boys will be back in, and that gives us a nice strong squad then.
This is the thing with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Mark. Leicester are targeting a central midfielder, but if they were targeting a right back or a left back or wing backs or even a winger, it could still be Maitland-Niles.
Because he could do everything, and that's the beauty about him as a player, his versatility. You just wonder whether Arsenal would want to sell to a rival or loan him out to a rival. Southampton as well, he's going to go into a really good setup where they're going to play the right way. Manager Ralph Hasenhüttl has a very clear philosophy at that football club, and they've got a reputation for developing youngsters and putting them in the right environment. It's a safe, pleasant, good environment where he can develop as a player. West Brom is a very different environment. Again, they're in a relegation scrap with a very different type of manager. So that would be another attractive proposition as well. He's going to go and learn different skills as a player. He's going to learn how to dig in. He's going to learn how to work under Sam Allardyce. So he's got three very different options on the table. You'd imagine it would either be Southampton or Leicester that will probably get Maitland-Niles.
The other line...
Sorry, Tom, I do wonder if it's him that's asked for this move, if I'm honest with you, just because... 21 appearances for Arsenal this season. His versatility is so important as well. Arteta definitely needs him. Started 5 Premier League games as well. So look, he's definitely a player that Arsenal like and a player that Arsenal needs. So I wonder if Ainsley Maitland-Niles that said, I need to get out, I need to play football. And again, an outside shot for the Euros, so it's definitely him. Sorry, Tom, I interrupted you there, didn't I?
That's all right. It's just to recap on the other news that we've been bringing in the last 20 minutes or so, that Billy Gilmore of Chelsea could be heading out on loan. That's to Southampton as well. It looks like any deal, well, it would be a loan move. However, it is not sorted yet and far from it. Ralph Hasenhüttl wants to bring a player in loan in midfield because of the amount of injuries. Gilmore was left out of Thomas Tuchel's squad last night for Chelsea. Right, next we are with former Manchester United goalkeeper Mark Bosnick, who joins us live from Australia, and DJ and MC and producer Majestic will be here to discuss his side, Tottenham. use the hashtag transfer talk to let us know what you think about what could happen today and what your club need. Dalarode says he'd love to see Manchester United swap Adama Traore for Dan James. With Wolves, Thomas Devlin says nothing more sure today. Dele Alli goes to Paris Saint-Germain and Tottenham just miss out on Pablo Dybala with a last-minute bid. Keep them coming in, hashtag transfer talk. But now it's time to head to Australia. We've got the former Manchester United and Aston Villa goalkeeper Mark Bosnick in Sydney, ready and waiting to speak to the Good Morning Transfers team. Mark, let's start with Manchester United. They've brought in an 18-year-old in Amad Diallo, the winger from Atalanta, in this window. Do you expect them to sign anyone else?
Well, good morning to you all. No, I don't, actually. Obviously, during this time, it's very, very difficult for any club to secure the targets that it's want, because it always runs the risk of being held to ransom to say, you want it by the end of the transfer window. So I don't think we'll see too much more activity in terms of Manchester United.
Mark, Ade here. Great to have you on Good Morning Transfers. When you look at that current Manchester United squad, are you happy with it, Mark?
I am right at this moment in time, funny enough. Obviously, during the last 12 months, there have been quite a few changes. There was a need for a striker. I thought the Cavani signing was a fantastic signing. They missed out, obviously, on Sancho. We know all about that. But I think they've exceeded expectations thus far in terms of their league position. They obviously went out of the Champions League. And I think with the COVID situation and with Liverpool missing it, they're one of the best centre halves in the world for the whole of the season. With Manchester City, although they've been looking ominous, there's no doubt there's still an opportunity for a surprise in the league. There's no doubt about that. Those other two teams I just mentioned have got to go back into the Champions League. I just, after this week, only them securing 1 point from 6, I just think to myself, don't let this opportunity slip, because you just don't know what will happen because of the vagaries of COVID-19 and what's been going on.
Mark, what did you make of the decision to let Jesse Lingard go on loan to West Ham for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I could completely understand that. Jesse has been a really good servant for Manchester United, but I think the way the team's playing and the shape that it's playing, I think his chances would be very limited. So I think they've done the right thing there. There's no doubt about that.
Mark, are you expecting any other outgoings today? There has been talk about a player in your former position, Sergio Romero, leaving the club.
Yeah, well, again, coming back to what I just said about Lingard, his chances are going to be few and far between. So if he has an opportunity to leave, I'm sure that he will go and the club will let him go. There's no doubt about that. But other than that, like I said to you before, not really any major signings. Like, the pressure was on, obviously, this time last season with a striker when they were running short. That was a little bit different, a little bit not too dissimilar to what Liverpool are facing now, to try to get another centre back in, but nothing major.
Mark, let's talk about one of your other former clubs. You were at Aston Villa for 7 years between 92 and 99. They've been brilliant so far this season. They signed a player in this window, Morgan Sanson from Marseille, for £14 million. Do you think that's a good signing for him? And are you expecting potentially any more faces in there today?
No, I'm not going to expect any more from Aston Villa, but he's a fantastic signing. Anyone that's seen Marseille play in the last season or so will realise what a good player he is, and it really does show that their ambition. And I think it's so important. Well, it was so important that Jack Grealish was kept onto. I think that really showed the intentions of the club. Obviously, staying up, by a whisker last season after the restart. Obviously, that coupled with the fact that Jack Grealish had stayed, and they've been fantastic this season. There's no doubt about that. Emi Martinez, the goalkeeper, has been an absolutely fantastic signing. And all throughout the teams, Ollie Watkins, mentioned Jack Grealish. And like I said, hopefully for Aston Villa's sake, they can push on now. We know they've got games in hand. It's always better to have points on the table than games in hand. But they can really challenge for that top four, because like the Championship, like I said to you, although, like I said, it must be said that Manchester City have looked ominous, although they've got some very tough games coming up. There's no doubt about that. The top four is another point and place on the table where I think there could be a few surprises this season.
Which Premier League club do you think needs to strengthen the most today, Mark?
When you're looking all the way through, I think that the most important thing you have to say, if you're looking at throughout the whole league, in terms of around the top, you're talking about Liverpool. Although they're signing the young lad at centre back from Preston North End, his name eludes me right now. That was obviously a priority for them. Other than the other ones, you would probably, you'd look and you'd say, there aren't really any that completely stand out. To say, do we really need to strengthen right here, right now, because of the situation that's been going on with COVID and what I spoke about at the beginning of the program, where you don't want to be held to ransom by a club because they know that you're desperate for a certain position. The teams at the bottom are always going to look to sort of throw things, to change things up. So you're talking Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield United. Brighton looked excellent, to be fair, last night, as we know that they can. Against Spurs. So out of all the clubs, like I said, the centre-back for Liverpool, obviously a massive priority, but the three at the bottom will be looking, I would say, more than anyone to try to get somebody new and just to freshen things up.
Great stuff, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
I've been trying to read out as many tweets as possible just while Mark was talking there about Manchester United. We had a couple of tweets, one from Kieran who says Manchester United need another defender, maybe on loan to the end of the season for now, before signing Upamecano or Kimpembe in the summer. And Lara says Manchester United need to get a striker or someone that can challenge Rashford, Greenwood and Martial for a spot, like Tellez came in and challenged Shaw, and now look at how well Shaw is playing. Good point from Lara there. Right, if you're with us last week on Good Morning Transfers, you may remember the huge breaking news that Frank Lampard had been sacked by Chelsea. A huge story for us here at Sky Sports News, but it did mean we had to cut Majestic's appearance short. Nevertheless, he's kindly rejoined us today, as it is deadline day. Right, yeah, you were rudely interrupted, weren't you, Majestic? You're a big Tottenham fan. How happy or unhappy are you with the current squad?
Well, with the current squad, we was talking about this last night while watching the game with Anthony, Gaza and my friend Bo, who do the podcast with, the Same Old Spurs podcast. And we're looking at the squad on paper, it looks tremendous. But then actually, when you get into the games and you look at the personnel that are playing and you're putting in performances like we have in the last couple of games, then you have to start questioning. But I'm on a big WhatsApp group with a load of Tottenham fans. I want to shout them out right now. And there's a bit of unrest right now. And people are asking whether it's the players or the manager. We're at that point already. And, you mentioned what happened to Frank last week. And that is a Chelsea legend. Do you know what I mean? And his head was on the chopping board, so to speak. With Jose Mourinho, I don't think Spurs fans necessarily have any kind of emotional connection with him. And as soon as the results are going wrong, and all the pundits have said it on Sky about, it's a results game. And when you're playing the style of football that Jose's been playing, as soon as you don't get those results, people are going to be questioning the tactics. They're going to be questioning the manager. And that's what's happening right now. But people are asking, is it the manager or is it the players? In terms of strengthening our squad, you've got to ask yourself, is Dele Alli surplus for requirements at Tottenham Hotspur when we have got no creativity whatsoever in the midfield apart from Ndombele, and we're just getting overrun at the moment?
Good morning, Majestic. It's Mark. Let's talk about a player now that is completely dividing Spurs fans, Christian Eriksen, and a potential return to North London. We understand the interest is still there. What would you like to see happen on deadline day?
With Chrissy Eriksen, again, like you said, people are divided. Speaking to the most hardcore Spurs fans, some of them are upset the fact that he downed tools for the last 18 months, so to speak. Although, he trained, he still was a professional and still did put in a lot for the club. And as I said before last week, an out-of-song Christian Eriksen is still a top player. We could do with him right now, to be honest. Lo Celso's injured. Obviously, in Jose's mind, Dele Alli doesn't fit his style of football, and there's not a place for him at the club. So we need to do something in the midfield, because the last couple of games, the one against Liverpool, especially against Brighton yesterday, we just looked a bit clueless, going forward. Obviously, Harry's out. And Ade said to me the other day when we had a chat ourselves about, what would it be like if Spurs lost Harry Kane to injury? You saw it last night. It was pretty, very poor, and there was no attacking threat. And the fact that he didn't even turn to Big Vin to start the game was a bit strange. But yeah, as for Eriksen, I'd personally have him back, to be honest with you. I think if he comes home and he gets the bit between the, he's going to be a good player. But after scoring that free kick in the Milan the other day, and all the comments that I've seen come out of Milan, I don't think he's coming home, to be honest with you.
Majestic, you mentioned we spoke the other day. We spoke about Harry Kane. We also spoke about Gareth Bell as well. I know you were very excited when he returned back to Tottenham. What do you make of Gareth Bell now? And do you think he can still play a big role with your side and all the competitions you're in until the end of the season?
Well, this is it. He was one of the best players, if not the best player I've ever seen over White Hart Lane, at his peak. The last season he had for us, he literally won games on his own. Obviously, he's come back, different age, injuries, etc. He's not going to have that burst of pace that we've all been expecting. It's difficult for us, even just people who watch football in the Premier League in general, to not see Gareth Bell just absolutely fly past people with that burst of pace. He is a top player, a big game player as well. And, make no mistake that there are so many games this season that we're going to need a little moment from someone. And I was having this discussion yesterday with Ant, who I did a podcast with, about, I'd rather see Gareth Bell on the pitch than, say, a Steven Bergwijn in a big game situation, because I might get a goal out of Gareth Bell. At the moment, Bergwijn, who is a quality player and probably will get to the levels that he needs to get to, he's not firing. So, I'm not expecting to see him run for 30 yards and get someone on the floor down the wing with a bit of skill. But I want to see him sort of get 90 minutes a couple of times under his belt. But again, yesterday he got hooked after, I think, 60 minutes? But yeah, he doesn't look like the Gareth Bell of yesteryear. Again, my love affinity with Gareth Bell obviously gives me rose-tinted glasses, and I am Mr. Positive when it comes to Bell. And what he's done for us in terms of entertainment. So I am too positive sometimes, because I often have the argument with Spurs fans about Bell.
Majestic, you mentioned Dele Alli a bit earlier there. Obviously, look, we want to see him get more playing time at Spurs. These links with PSG are not going away, right? And they're not going to go away until 11 o'clock this evening if that deal doesn't happen. And before then, if he does stay, do you want to see him get more playing time? You're lacking Harry Kane right now. We know that Dele Alli can score, he can assist. Surely he gets more playing time.
100%. If he's not leaving the club, he needs to be in the manager's office straight away tomorrow morning with a big discussion. They both need to get on the same page together, because at the end of the day, he's going to be there for the rest of the season. If he's looking towards the European Championships in the summer, he needs to be on the team sheet week in, week out for Tottenham Hotspur, no doubt about it, especially with the likes of Maddison and Grealish performing at the levels that they are. I know Nathan Dawe was on earlier on. He's a good friend of mine and a top DJ producer. He's a big Villa fan. Grealish having the season of his life. So Ali has got to be performing at those levels, and I think he can. And again, I had my war cry to him last week, because I know a lot of the boys watch Sky Sports News in the morning when they're about to go training, and I just think if he gets to the levels that Dele Alli was at, he makes the England team, because he's that good. And his stats, the numbers that he's got under his belt for such a young man in the Premier League, suggest that as well. So let's just hope. This is the thing, though, with Jose. It's been proven at clubs before, whether it's Paul Pogba and Luke Shaw, or eventually when he left Chelsea with Eden Hazard, etc. He divides the changing room. Players, when they don't get on, is a big problem. And at the moment, the rumours of what happened at the week with Aurier tried to shut it down on social media, saying people were chatting rubbish. He didn't feature yesterday, and for me, where's Aurier? You're playing Sissoko out of position in a game against Brighton away. Is it because he's got a problem with Aurier and something's happened in the week? So yeah, we need a bit of harmony in that dressing room. Jose's watching this, he's probably telling everyone else there's harmony, but it doesn't seem that way on the outside at the moment.
Well, Majestic, when we spoke to you last week, you turned into Harry Redknapp. Well, Harry Redknapp is a guest later on Deadline Day here on Sky Sports News. So have you got a message from Harry Redknapp for Harry Redknapp?
Well, Harry, if you want to get Nico and Peter Crouchy back together, they're tremendous players, you've got to listen, boys, you've got to get me on with Harry, he's tremendous. I shall bet Johnny, Man City, they've paid $9 million for you. You've got to go up there, Benny. You've got to go up there, Shaq.
and on my Instagram, you're having a chat with Hibs defender and former Sunderland defender Charlotte Potts, and she was saying that Jimmy Bullard, you do a very good impression of him as well. Have you got that too?
Oh, Jimmy. Well, the thing is, Jimmy's just an absolute legend from East London, so it's quite difficult. Obviously, I'm North London, so I've got quite a harsh North London accent. It's hard. He's got a higher pitch than me. It's just quite difficult to do Jimmy, so I don't know if I'll be able to pull Jimmy out of the bag. I can give you a Dyche. Dyche's a good one.
Oh, yeah, let's hear that.
Listen, the reason we beat Liverpool is because Burnley and Barnsley, they're players that will eat nails to me every morning. They go training, they run through walls. Those Liverpool players will not run through walls. I will run through walls for Burnley. That is why Burnley will stay up in the Premier League this year. That's why we love running through walls at training.
Sean Dyche, Majestic, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Have a great transfer day, boys.
Great stuff. Right, next up, Mark brings us his EFL updates, and we'll be discussing Newcastle. Will they be busy this deadline? And get in touch, Newcastle fans. #TransferTalk. This is Good Morning Transfers, and it is deadline day. Sky Studios are all set, all over the place. Deadline day branding. We've got lots to come on Good Morning Transfers, including Rudimental and Matthew Horn.
Time is running out for managers in the EFL to do business as well. You know that phones are going to be red hot throughout the day as managers try and secure their targets before tonight's deadline. And I've been busy on the phone as well, trying to get the very latest transfer news by hitting managers up on the WhatsApp. We're going to start in League One, and a side that are the biggest entertainers of the division. Rochdale's last 10 games have seen 50 goals, both for and against. And you know what? I think they're going to be movers and shakers on deadline day, as well as manager Brian Barry Murphy looks to add not one, not two, not three, but 4 players. Here's his update.
Good morning, Mark. This day has finally come around where we're going to lose one of our best and most exciting players that we've ever had at the club. I think Quadro Ba's situation has been changing from hour to hour, day to day, but I think it's going to become really clear really soon that he's got his dream move, and we're all really proud and excited for him as he goes in the next part of his journey. I suppose our one hope today is that we can manage to get him back on loan, where he can continue the work he's done already this season. In terms of our incoming players for January, we've already added Gabriel Osho from Luton on loan, and he's made a great impression to help our defensive unit. And as the day progresses, because we haven't added a lot of players in the summer season, now we're hopeful that we can add maybe 2, 3, or even, if we can persuade the powers that be, maybe 4. We're talking to 1 player from a Premier League club, 1 player from a Championship club, and 1 player from a League One club. And hopefully it'll be a combination of permanent transfers and loans within that, as we add more youth to our squad, and hopefully combine a little bit of experience to what we feel is a very exciting group moving forward. So everybody have a great day, and hope it is as exciting as we anticipate it will be.
Thanks very much indeed, Brian. From Brian to Simon, and we'll stay in League One and move across to Fleetwood Town, who appointed Simon Grayson over the weekend to replace Joey Barton. And Simon is straight into the cut and thrust of deadline day. He said to me that his phone had been quiet over the course of this season, but suddenly he's back in demand. It's funny how football works. And despite Simon only being in the job a matter of hours, he's hoping to do some business today.
Hiya Mark, hope you're well mate. Yeah, it's been a manic few hours since I've joined Fleetwood Town. Really pleased at the opportunity to go back into work. Deadline day obviously is ending very quickly for a lot of people. The last few hours it's all been about assessing the squad, having meetings with the owner, the chief exec and head of recruitment. So hopefully we might be able to do a little bit of business just to freshen up the squad. It's been nice actually to hear my phone ring over the last few hours. It's never the same when you're not in work, of the mayhem of being involved in a transfer deadline window. So yeah, busy period of time, really looking forward to the challenge, and here's to us hopefully getting a couple of players to really kickstart the rest of our season. So hopefully you're going to have a busy day, plenty of calls as well, so hopefully catch up soon.
Great to see Simon back in football. And finally, we'll drop down to League Two and Newport County, who have struggled recently after their brilliant start to the season. But manager Michael Flynn is expecting a busy day of both ins and outs. Here's what he had to say.
Evening all. Been very busy here at Newport County AFC. We've lost a lot of players back to their parent clubs. We've tried to replace with a few. We've got Luke Gambin in, Jake Scrimshaw, Dom Telford. We're still looking to add to the squad because we want to keep carrying on our impressive form from the start of the season. There's going to be lots of activity before the end of the window with ins and outs, so we will try and keep you up to date and informed as soon as we can. All stay safe. Bye.
Thank you so much to all of our managers there that have sent videos in on a busy 24 hours, and of course throughout the course of this month.
Yeah, busy as well, because we've been telling you about Southampton wanting Billy Gilmore on loan. That is now unlikely, so this story moving fast, and there's a distinct possibility he may stay at Chelsea despite a lot of interest in taking him on loan. As for Southampton, they are still in for Ainsley Maitland-Niles on loan, but they've got competition from West Brom and Leicester. Right, 10 years ago, the January transfer window looked a lot different. A staggering £221 million was spent in the Premier League. What a difference to this window, where the majority of deals have been loans and just over £70 million has been spent. Let's remind you of some of those big deals a decade ago. Look at that. Luis Suarez is on there, Andy Carroll, David Luiz and Fernando Torres. Ade, Luis Suarez, that was a success.
Oh, absolutely fantastic signing for Liverpool. It's funny because he came with Andy Carroll, and Andy Carroll was actually expected to be the superstar of the two. 82 goals for Liverpool in 133 games. Liverpool's player of the season 2 years running, 2012-13, 13-14. Professional football player of the year, 2013-14. Football Writers Association player of the year, Golden Boot winner as well. Fantastic career. He's gone on to score nearly over 400 goals in his career so far for Liverpool, Barcelona, Ajax and now Atletico Madrid. Fantastic signing. It must be one of the best signings ever in the January transfer window. Yeah, I'd say so. Those deals were all linked, by the way, because Torres, of course, then went to Chelsea.
Yeah, he was a superstar at Liverpool, although, amazingly, never won a trophy. And then went to Chelsea in the January, won the FA Cup, the Champions League and the Europa League.
Right, players on that picture there 10 years ago looked a bit younger. By the way, Bruno Mars was #1 with his song Grenade 10 years ago on deadline day. It got me thinking, I wonder what we looked like 10 years ago. Ade, let's have a look. I was hoping you'd have hair.
This was, no, I've never had hair. This was the start of my broadcaster days and a little boxing YouTube show of my friend.
There you go. That's me and Yakubu on the streets of Leicester.
You look hard as nails. You could be in central midfield with Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
There's one last year. Oh, there
so
I
Tom
am.
gets the video, does he, yeah?
Tell you what a haircut. David Hay presenting me with an award.
You still got that award?
I gave it to the boss of Sky Sports News, who since left. It will probably still be there. Right, loads more to come. Newcastle fans, I promise we're talking about you soon. We've got the Beautiful Game podcasters stood by as well. And we're joined live by Rudimental. Loads of transfer news coming up too. Welcome to Good Morning Transfers on deadline day in the winter window. 11 p.m. is the deadline in the Premier League as clubs try to get that last bit of business done going into the final few months of the season. A very warm welcome to you at home and to those watching on Sky Sports' YouTube channel. As ever, we want you to be involved, so please tweet using the hashtag TransferTalk. We'll actually start with some breaking news coming out of Everton, and it's an outgoing. Goalkeeper Jonas Lossel has left the club. He's going to return to FC Midtjylland, which is actually the club where he began his career. He joined Everton in July 2019. He spent the last few months of last season on loan with Huddersfield, playing 15 times in the Championship, but now he has left Everton. He was third choice there, and he's going back to FC Midtjylland. So that is one deal done, and there's plenty to come in the final hour of Good Morning Transfers with Adeola Depot and Mark McAdam. Now, we've got some interesting moves over the past few weeks. The majority, though, have been loan deals. The coronavirus pandemic has had a huge impact on teams across the world. However, we've picked out our best deals of the window so far. OK, Ade, we'll go with you first, then Mark, then me. Who do you think's been the best deal so far, Ade?
Hands down, Martin Odegaard has to be. It's a
he hasn't played yet.
It's a win-win. He's gonna tick all the boxes. Trust me. Look, no obligation to buy, no option to buy. Arsenal obviously cover his wages, which we believe are in the region of around £38,000 a week. Which, let's be honest, for a player of his ilk, isn't too much. I mean, spent last season on loan at Real Sociedad. 7 goals, 9 assists. The season before that was in the Eredivisie with Vitesse. 11 goals, 12 assists. Exactly what Arsenal need: an attacking midfielder who can score, who can assist. I think it's fantastic for Arsenal. Look, one thing they have lacked, when you look at that midfield, I look at it, and I like Arsenal's team. I do like the balance so far. But look at the midfield: Xhaka, Partey, El Neni as the main focal points in that midfield. All ball winners. Partey can definitely do a bit more. Those are hard-working ball winners. Where's the creativity? The creativity is with Emil Smith-Rowe. He's a youngster. I don't think Arsenal want to put everything on him. There's no way that Mikel Arteta would have started this season thinking that Emil Smith-Rowe is going to be the main man. He's going to carry the burden. I think Martin Odegaard comes in, helps carry that burden, helps Bukayo Saka as well. And I don't think they've got enough from Willian. I think that's disappointing, a return of no goals whatsoever. And let's not forget as well, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was their talisman for so many years, always relied on him for goals. Just the 8 goals this season, obviously out now with family personal issues. They're going to need to spread those goals around that team now. They really want to push on and get into a European spot. This guy can score, he can assist. Yes, Mark's right. He hasn't played so far, but trust me, he was a wonder kid many years ago, and he's going to do wonderful things for Arsenal.
He did come off the bench on Saturday, didn't
yes.
he? We weren't able to see much of him. Mark, I actually can't remember who you chose, and given that you've been frantically going through your notes, I think you might have forgotten as well.
Do you know what? It's one of those things that when it got confirmed by Manchester United that they'd signed this man, Amad Diallo, I got really excited, and he was
hasn't played for United this season, has he?
Yeah, no, he hasn't. You're right.
Good point. Good point.
But it was one of those. I spoke to a number of people actually that had watched him play over in Italy, told me a little bit about his background and the fascinating story that had brought him over to the Premier League, that had even taken him to Italy in the first place, and it's been written about and discussed. And then I just made note after note after note after note. The more people I spoke to about the player, the more excited I got, and the more research I did, the more excited I got. And I just made like a whole page of notes here to talk about Amad Diallo and how he potentially could be, a future world footballing superstar. I even congratulated Manchester United and Ed Woodward for the business they'd done. Let's be honest, the black and white facts are the fee could rise to £37 million. I think that says all you need to know about the type of player that Manchester United feel they're getting, that they're willing to invest someone that's played very little first-team football. But he's come out of that very famous Atalanta academy that's been producing players for world football for in excess of 30 or 40 years. He's a right winger, left-footed. He's got brilliant balance. He could probably play as that sort of left-footed inside forward, which is the Mo Salah type of role. He's got all the makings, all the qualities, a great temperament as well, and he wants to be on the ball. He wants to make things happen. The fact that Manchester United had brought this loan forward to bring him into the club now, I think says all you need to know. They weren't happy with him being out on loan, playing his football somewhere else. They could have brought him over to Old Trafford in the summer. They've gone, no. We want him now. We want him in training now. And I think he's going to have a huge impact on Manchester United for the second phase of the season. He's the player I'm excited about. I like Odegaard, but this kid is a future superstar. And I think maybe 5 years' time, he'll be right up there with some of the best players in world football.
So your player hasn't played yet. Yours has come on as a sub. Well, mine's only played once as well. All right?
What do we know?
So I've gone for Mbaye Diagne, who West Brom have signed on loan with an option to buy. The reason I've gone for him, and I didn't know too much about him before. I've done a lot of research on him now. But he played on Saturday. He looked very dangerous. Yeah. He got an assist as well, a very good assist. But if you look at his career, he has been prolific throughout. With the exception, he actually signed for Juventus in 2013. Didn't really get a game there. He was young at the time. Didn't get a chance. He was loaned out a lot. But if you look at his previous clubs, he was at Club Brugge briefly, 4 goals in 6 games. Galatasaray, tough league, 19 goals in 30 games. Kazim Pasa, 32 goals in 34 games, and Tianjin Teda, 16 goals in 44 games. He also got 11 in 14 at the club before that. He has scored goals everywhere that he's gone, and he did really well on Saturday for West Brom. And mainly, though, it's because Sam Allardyce has got such a brilliant record at signing players in January. You know I love him, Addy. That's why you're laughing. But
I know. I just looked at Mark.
I'll back it up with the facts. I can back it up with the facts. He would know. His deals when he was at Palace in January kept them up. Patrick Van Aanholt, Jeffrey Schlupp, Mamadou Sakho, they kept Palace up. Before that, at Sunderland with Kone, Kirchhoff, Khazri, they kept Sunderland up with those deals as well. And I think that if he's targeted this striker, he is going to be the right player. And if West Brom stay up, I think that he will be key for them. I think he will be key for them. He will really help Sam Allardyce to try to keep West Brom up this season. So they are our picks. Anyway, we've got a couple of lines just into us, actually, before we go at the Beautiful Game podcasters. This is another goalkeeper who's left the Premier League, but Norwich have signed Norwegian international Ørjan Nyland from Aston Villa. He's 30 years old. It's a short-term deal as a free agent, actually, for the remainder of the 2020-21 season. He was most recently contracted to Aston Villa, who was part of that side that gained promotion to the Premier League in 2018-19. He was a free agent, he hasn't joined from Villa, he used to play for Villa. 38 appearances throughout his 2-year spell at Villa Park. Another line, actually, it comes from Watford, but again, it's an outgoing. Domingos Quina has agreed a loan move to Spanish side Granada. He's 21 years old, he used to play for West Ham, didn't he? But he hasn't featured for Watford since mid-December. That's due to a hamstring injury. He'll spend the rest of the season in La Liga. 37 times he's played for Watford since signing from West Ham in August 2018, scoring 3 goals. So a couple of lines there coming in from the Championship. And keep your thoughts coming in, #transfer talk. Right, I wonder what our next guests think about our selections for best signing of the window so far. Joining us on Good Morning Transfers is our weekly contributors, Dej and Dot from A Beautiful Game podcast. Good morning to you two. Great to have you on the show, live for the first time, this one actually. And Dot, you were excited as a Liverpool fan. Are you excited that the defender is finally on the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we've had a lot of injuries this season at centre-back. Van Dijk, getting that nasty injury against Everton. And then Joe Gomez picking up an injury on international duty. So I think it's important to get in the centre-back, and hopefully Ben Davies can come in and settle the defence down, because I think one of the key factors is that it's not just Van Dijk being injured or Gomez being injured. I think it's more we need to be able to get our best midfielder back into midfield. And when you take away Fabinho, the world-class defensive midfielder, and in my opinion, the best defensive midfielder in the Premier League, and Jordan Henderson from their best positions, you're leaving a big hole in midfield as well as centre-back. So I think bringing in Ben Davies and potentially one more centre-back is imperative for Liverpool in this window.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with you. Liverpool fans have been screaming out for a centre-back to come in. Are you shocked that it's taken so long for Liverpool to get a centre-back in? I mean, we've known about the injuries to Gomez and Van Dijk for such a long time, and a lot of people, including Jamie Carragher, thought they should have got someone in the 1st of January. Are you surprised it's taken this long?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised. Obviously, on the ideal world, you want your player to come in 1st of January, statement signing, but football doesn't work in that ideal world. There's a pandemic going on. A lot of teams are saying, look, we don't have the money and the wages, fork out, exorbitant wages to buy a new centre-back. So I think, yes, it's a bit late to bring in a centre-back, but Liverpool can still resurrect their season, and we can see that they're picking up some good form recently with a fantastic performance yesterday against West Ham at the London Stadium.
Dej, Liverpool have been linked with so many centre-backs since, obviously, we heard about Van Dijk and Gomez's long-term injuries. Is Ben Davies the right one, or is it just because of the finances right now that they've had to go for Ben Davies? Did you expect a bigger name to come into the club?
I think it's horses for courses, to be honest. I think beggars can't be choosers, and Liverpool have come out and said their finances have been crippled by the COVID period. And I'm sure they would have been scouring the market looking for someone that could fill in the gap. And I think Ben Davies is a sort of stopgap, because we need to remember that Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, they're going to be fit soon. So I think when he comes in, he'll just plug in the gaps to the end of the season. Then maybe they'll reassess his future.
Looking at the bigger picture of the transfer window and today's deadline day, who do you think needs to do the most business? Dej, we'll start with you.
But that's a tough one. I think we're not seeing the volume of transfers that we think we should have seen, but I think a team like West Brom need to make more signings because they're in danger of being cut adrift. We saw their draw on the weekend with Fulham 2-2, and I think Sam Allardyce will be looking for another midfielder just to consolidate and maybe push to try and stay in the division.
And Dot, the same question to you. Who needs to do the most today as that deadline ticks away?
You know what? I think Sheffield United, we've seen in the last 2 games, they seem to be more like the Sheffield United we saw last season. So I think maybe if they can get in a goal-scoring striker that can, win them games, that may be, what can keep them up this season.
Yeah, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he's in demand. Leicester, West Brom and Southampton want him. We were hearing there that West Brom would be a good fit for him to keep them up. But where would he be the best fit for you?
I think Leicester. I like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I think he's a player that has the attributes to be a top player, but he's never had that consistent run of games. We've seen at the back end of last season, his performances at wing-back for Arsenal were very impressive. And I think he was potentially on the move in the summer, but in the last minute, he didn't get that move to Wolves. So I think Ainsley Maitland-Niles is a player that just needs to settle down, play football consistently, play in centre midfield, which I think is his best position. And I think Leicester will be the perfect fit because they've had some injury problems at centre midfield to Wilfred and Ndidi and Pratt.
And Dej, you mentioned that West Brom might want a central midfielder. I mean, Maitland-Niles can play in so many positions. Would he be right for them?
I think when you look at the players' ambitions, West Brom are obviously in a relegation fight, and I think Maitland-Niles sees himself as a top 6 player. I think Arsenal to Leicester will be a sideways move, and I think going to West Brom probably wouldn't be best for his career prospects.
And Dot, Billy Gilmore, he's been wanted by Southampton. It's looking likely now that he might stay at Chelsea. But can you see why he'd be so in demand on loan?
Absolutely. We saw, his cameo performance against Liverpool in the FA Cup where he won man of the match last season. Pivot in that midfield, playing penetrative passes through the middle of the pitch. And I think Billy Gilmore is a good player. We spoke to Stephen Reed on the Beautiful Game podcast, and he said, listen, this boy, he has everything. So I'm not surprised that he's, attracting interest from Premier League clubs.
At the top of the hour, both myself, Addy and Tom all chose our favourite signing of this January transfer window. So we're going to pose the same question to you. Who's it been and why? And Dej, we'll start with you.
I'm going to have to go with Jesse Lingard. I think this is a player with massive, massive pedigree. We saw him in the World Cup play central hope, the England's hope. And I think, obviously, Manchester United, the project probably moved it on. He had these personal issues. But I think the pedigree and the quality he can bring to that West Ham midfield, alongside the likes of Souček and Declan Rice, I think he can propel them into the European places. And this is one, for me, that's gone hugely and massively under the radar.
Brilliant. And the same question to you, Dot.
I'm going to go with West Ham's permanent signing of Said Benrahma. This is a player that I watched, multiple times in the Championship last season. Scored 17 goals, was one of the standout players in the Championship. Yes, he's had a bit of a slow start at West Ham, but I've got a source very close to Brentford, and they said, listen, Said Benrahma, he's a fantastic player. But the question is, can he deliver consistently? And I think if he does, he can be a top player in the Premier League.
Dej and Dot from the Beautiful Game, thank you for the whole month.
Thank you.
A host of great names still to come, including Matthew Horn from Gavin and Stacey, and Rudimental joins us live in the next 20 minutes. Time now to hear from a very special guest. Good Morning Transfers team member Michael Bridges caught up with actor and Gavin and Stacey star Matthew Horne to talk all things Tottenham.
Why Spurs? Because you're not from North London originally, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm from Nottingham, so I should be a Forest or County fan. I mean, County are my sort of second team, if you like. As I used to play for the junior side, I went through my almost complete 1986 Panini sticker album and chose the Spurs kit, which is I have a replica of now. It's this one.
That is one of the best ones. That is one
of the best ones. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Dele Alli, Matt? Would you welcome? Do you think he could do well with a loan move just for a few months, then come back to Spurs, or do you think no? Spurs have loads of games. Keep him at Tottenham.
I don't expect him to stay personally, and I'm not sure that he would actually return.
Christian Eriksen, would you welcome him back?
I did a pitch side interview for Tottenham TV and he was warming up. He was training and the ball sort of came past me. And I stopped the interview and ran off to try to challenge him for the ball. and I sort of did this trick that I learned when I was a kid, which I never really see footballers do. But it's like my football party trick, and I did it on him and managed to nutmeg him and beat him. and I like to think that was the sort of nail in the coffin for him.
Yeah,
I really liked him as a player. I thought he was a superb player. I think he is a superb player, and I would love to see him back at Tottenham, but I can't see that one happening. I recently did the voiceover for the audio guide of the tour.
Yeah.
So the stadium tours, you can have a look around, and when you get like at a museum, you get the audio guide. Well, it's my voice doing it. I was really thrilled to get this job and do this voiceover for them. I was just like really honoured because there are a lot of famous Spurs fans, and then then someone contacted me. A guy who works at Tottenham. He said, "Oh look, we've got this documentary coming out on a rival broadcaster. Will you tweet about it?" And I looked at it, and it said narrated by Tom Hardy, and I was like, "Forget it, Tony. Forget it. If I'm just doing the audio guide. I'm not tweeting. I'm not tweeting about Tom Hardy's work.
Yeah,
dear me.
He doesn't need that. He doesn't need the promotion."
I know. I don't think anybody was worried about his bank account at the moment.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Spurs are brought up quite often in Gavin and Stacey, and which the Spurs fans have absolutely loved. And obviously, James Corden uses his West Ham shirt quite a lot. Was that something you two talked about? Is it something you wanted?
Between myself and James, we sort of decided that it's sort of. I mean, not only is it authentic for playing the truth of a character, because I'm a Tottenham fan and he's a West Ham fan, but it is also appropriate for the characters in the show and where they're from, that they would be fans of those teams.
I'll tell you one of my favourite scenes, Matt. It has to be one of the Christmas specials when Stacey gives you a present and it's the signed Michael Dawson frame picture, your favourite player at the time. And surprise, surprise, we've got a video from Michael Dawson himself with a hello and wishing you all the best. So here it is.
Hiya, Matt. Dawes here. Hope you're keeping well, mate. You remember when I was your favourite Spurs player? How times have changed. Could this be the year since 2008 that Spurs win a trophy? Let's hope so.
Oh, what an absolute sweetheart. What a legend.
Well, there you go.
I love Dawes. That's really, really nice. Yeah, lovely. Lovely to see him.
Finally, Spurs this season, are they going to win a trophy? They're in the League Cup final, the FA Cup 5th round. They're in the Europa League still. Is this the year?
We're doing everything we can. We are coming to the part of the season now where historically Spurs wind down for a couple of months. So who knows? But I hope so. I hope so. Some silverware would be nice.
Not sure if I was the only one to be shocked by the accent there from Matthew. I was expecting Gavin Shipman. We have got some breaking news coming. It comes from Tottenham, actually. Danny Rose will not be joining Trabzonspor today, and we are told it looks likely that he will sit out the rest of the season. Remember, he wasn't named in their 25-man squad for Tottenham. He's out of contract in the summer, and it looks like he is going nowhere until then. Some more breaking news as well. It comes from West Brom, and West Brom fans, you'll be happy about this because you are close to signing OK Yokuslu. He's completed his West Brom medical. He's expected to finalise his loan move from Celta Vigo later today. He's a midfielder stroke winger, 26-year-old, and he's from Turkey. He's completed his medical, so this one is close. To Sam Allardyce looks to boost his squad as they look to stay in the Premier League. Next on Good Morning Transfers, Rudimental will be joining us. We'll be discussing Arsenal and the business they have done too. And there's time for more with just over 13 and a half hours left. Addy, get your head out the way. 13 and a half hours left on this deadline day. Yes, we can definitely feel the love for our next guest. Delighted to welcome Locksmith from Rudimental live on Good Morning Transfers. Oh, Locksmith, are you aware we're coming to you? Oh, there you go. Tell you what, that is some home gym that you're in there.
I'm jealous of that, I am.
We are delighted that you're joining us. Have you finished your workout now? Are you ready for us?
I have finished my workout. I had about 20 missed calls because I completely forgot about this. Sorry.
Thanks a lot. I tell you what, you've got the second biggest. You've got the second biggest arms in the Good Morning Transfers team behind Ade here on my right. Let's get straight to it. All right. We know you're an Arsenal fan. How happy are you with the squad? Do you want to see a deadline day signing or even a departure?
For me, it's not a case of being happy. It's just that I want the team to gel a lot more. We could do with a centre back to come in, but with the likes of Torreira still out on loan, I'd love him to come back and be happy at the squad as well, because I think he's such a player. But you can tell that with us coming together and a bit of self-belief, that we're starting to come into a bit of form and a bit of consistency.
Locksmith, Ade here, loving the gym, loving the kettlebells as well. Let's talk Ainsley Maitland-Niles for a couple of minutes. Looks like you've heard the rumours. Looks like he could be going on loan today. Would you be happy to see him going on loan?
I don't think it's a case of seeing him happy. We all know that Arsenal always suffer with injuries, especially on the flanks, left back, right back. And Maitland-Niles is such a utility player. He can play in quite a few positions. However, if the guy needs to go and play some football and come back a little bit more experienced, then I'm all for that. I think a loan deal would probably be the best option for all parties at this particular time.
Locksmith, it's Mark here in the studio. Let's talk about Martin.
Mark, you all right, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Let's talk about Martin Odergaard. Are you happy with the signing?
Definitely. I'm a big Arsene Wenger fan, and the fact that Arsene brought him in years ago when he was even younger shows that he has something about himself. And when he come on for his brief spell against Man United, you saw the quality in the lad. Good first touch, vision and positional sense as well. So I think he's going to be a great addition to the squad.
Right, Locksmith, let's rewind the clock then. Favourite Arsenal signing of all time?
Of all time? Oh, yeah, there's so many to choose from. I'm a massive Ian Wright fan. I had the poster up on my wall. Obviously, you've got the likes of Bergkamp, Thierry Henry. But if I'm honest, the best signing of all time, the one person who's changed the game is Arsene Wenger. That is the best signing that Arsenal has ever done.
Fair enough.
One of my heroes actually was David Seaman. Now, we know, Locksmith, you're a good footballer yourself. You were a semi-professional, and we saw you alongside a host of famous faces for the Soccer Aid game. What was it like to play alongside the likes of Yaya Toure, Patrice Evra, and your manager was Harry Redknapp?
Oh, mate, it was amazing. That was the second time that I played for Soccer Aid, and I played with some amazing players. Patrice Evra was just like a laugh a minute. He's non-stop. He's got too much energy for me. But the year before that, I played with Eric Cantona, Roberto Carlos, just to name a few. And you have Keno there as well. There's so many, and you're just literally in awe. I'm never really lost for words, but I drank my drink slowly whilst they were talking about their stories, and I just listened. I absorbed it all. It was amazing, surreal.
Some massive names there, Locksmith. Have you stayed in contact with any of the players? Look, Rudimental certainly has some big tunes, and I'm sure some of those tunes are always played in dressing rooms.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a group that still goes on to this day, Quite a few names in there, and we're always putting in the odd joke. So, yeah, we're still in contact.
Right, OK, right. Let's talk about your music then. You've got a new song out called Be The One. Could Be The One this year? Could it be the one for Arsenal to win a trophy? How would you celebrate?
Mate, I'll go ballistic. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I don't think it's going to happen, if I'm honest. But what I do like is the fact that Arteta's come in. He's laid his philosophy down to the players, and they're believing in that. And I think that's what it's all about, So I'm all about the progression and moving forward, and we're moving in the right direction. Celebrate, I'll probably run down Highbury in the Emirates naked, if I'm honest, if we want something like that.
Well, try not to get arrested, Locksmith, right? Any other upcoming projects or music singles we can look out for? And importantly, any collaborations?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Obviously, lockdown has kept us a bit restricted. However, we're still making music. Looking to get an album out this year. So for all our Rudimental fans, definitely look out for that. Obviously, you've got Be The One, which is out now and that's circulating really well. We've got our label as well called Major Toms, who we've got Anne-Marie, Morgan Connie Smith and Ella Henderson signed to. So there's a lot going on the Rudimental side, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then you've got my Locksmith brand as well. So, yeah, it's a busy year.
What Rudimental song reflects Arsenal's transfer window?
It's got to be Come Over featuring Anne-Marie. Come over.
Locksmith, great to have you on. I'm glad you eventually remembered that you were coming.
Pleasure.
And I love the fact that your kettlebells are yellow as well for Sky Sports deadline day.
That's the OCD in me.
Love that. Right, OK, we have got a few transfer lines to bring you, actually. Glenn Murray, right, he has completed his permanent transfer to Nottingham Forest. Permanent transfer, this one. He was recalled from a season-long loan with Watford to help him complete the move to Nottingham Forest. He'll link up with former Brighton manager, of course, Chris Hughton, who knows him. Also, Gaetang Bong, the former Brighton left-back, is there. So is Anthony Knockaert, the former Brighton winger, is there, and he gained promotion to the Premier League with those two and Chris Hughton. So he's gone to Nottingham Forest. That deal is complete, a permanent deal. There's another line as well that the Tottenham defender Japhet Tanganga, he'll find out today if he's going to be allowed to leave the club on loan. Two Premier League clubs and one in Scotland are both keen to take him on loan if that's sanctioned. Hasn't been sanctioned yet, but it could be later on in the day. So Japhet Tanganga could be leaving on loan from Tottenham on deadline date. Right, Newcastle fans, I know I promised you about an hour ago we were going to talk about you. We're going to talk about you right now. Get in touch, #transfer talk. We know that they made a loan inquiry for Olivier Cham from Celtic, but Celtic would prefer the option to buy added to the deal. What's the latest, Mark?
And Cham has made it clear he wants to leave the football club. He wants to leave Celtic. He's made just 7 league starts this season and has missed some games due to being in self-isolation off the back of Celtic's trip to Dubai. West Brom inquired about Cham earlier this month, and he's entering now the final 18 months of his Celtic contract. So he's a player very much on the radar for Steve Bruce. We know that Newcastle don't have a lot of money to play with, so a loan option is what they're looking at. But could they finally be getting close to a new face in the North East? Because the fans, let's be honest, they're desperate for someone.
Yeah. Well, Mark Preston actually has said that he wants an attacking midfielder. I think Cham would fit the bill. Also a striker to help out Callum Wilson and a defender as well. Who else in central midfield have they been linked with, though, Ade? Because we've mentioned quite a few names on this show.
Yeah, unfortunately, striker, you just said there, that's not one of their options. One of the two options that Steve Bruce spoke about at the start of the transfer window were a defensive midfielder and a left-back. With regards to a midfielder, the one that's not going away, the rumour that's not going away is Hamza Chowdhury from Leicester. You can understand why. Only 3 appearances for Leicester this season. Has clearly fallen down the pecking order there. Still brings, though, a lot of bite and steel to that Newcastle midfield, something that a lot of people have accused them of lacking. You do wonder, and Mark mentioned this, that win against Everton, maybe that might have changed the opinions of a few of their midfielders. Shelvey looked good there, didn't he? Isaac Hayden looked good as well. So you kind of wonder if Steve Bruce is now looking at that team, looking at that midfield and thinking we can hang on until the end of the season. Another position for them was left back. Brandon Williams was their number one choice. That's the guy they were looking to get. Played 36 times last season for Manchester United. It's fallen out of favour now because of Telles coming in and Luke Shaw really starting to be the Luke Shaw that we thought we were going to see many, many years ago. Although Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has come out recently and said he's not going anywhere. They do want to keep him. United have a lot of games and they think that he is going to be a vital part. They're also looking at very quickly Jethro Williams, who was on loan last season at Newcastle. He was on loan with an option to buy. Got injured in January and didn't play again. Season-ending injury. He is right now at Eintracht Frankfurt. They can possibly rekindle that deal. So those are the options, Brandon Williams or Jethro Williams. If it's going to be anyone, probably going to be Jethro Williams. I'm
going to ask you about the knock-on effect in that in a minute, Mark. But we've got a line in here from Rob Dawson, our Midlands reporter, who says, because a lot of people on Twitter, Newcastle fans, are asking us about Hamza Chowdhury. Leicester are prepared to let him leave on loan today if they get another midfielder in. We know that they're after Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Now, Newcastle and West Brom both ready to make moves for Hamza Chowdhury if Leicester give them the green light. It's thought at the moment, though, Chowdhury is keen on a move to link up with Steve Bruce at Newcastle. OK, so in terms of that, so that's the latest on Hamza Chowdhury. He might go, but very quickly, Mark, if a left-back does come in, what does that mean for Matt Ritchie?
Well, it's an interesting one, let's be honest. Matt Ritchie has fallen out of favour at Newcastle this season. Games have been hard to come by. We've seen throughout the course of the last week or so there's been a link with a return potentially back to Bournemouth. It's just a case of keep an eye on the phones, keep an eye on what's happening and see what happens. But I'm sure if Steve Bruce could get the player he wants in, then he would potentially allow Matt Ritchie to go, but I still think there's a long way, sadly, for Bournemouth fans to get that deal done. OK, Rob McGeever, Newcastle need a creative midfielder. We can't rely on Sam Maximan. We've already seen how bad it gets when he's injured. Will Irwin says standard Newcastle, clear out a left-back and a right-back and inquire about central midfielders. Well, they are looking for a left-back as well. Will and Connor says Newcastle need at least 2 players. Central midfield, and left-back would be nice, especially if Ritchie leaves. He wants Chowdhury and Maitland-Niles. And he's also saying that Tanganga wouldn't be bad on loan either. Right, next we'll round up the latest transfer stories, including a potential domino effect. It looks like it could be a busy day to come.
in Nathaniel Chalobah, who's currently at Watford. Brennan Rodgers knows him. He worked with him when he was a coach at the Chelsea Academy. Watford, though, not easy, because they don't want Chalobah to go unless they bring in a replacement. That brings Newcastle into the equation, because Watford have previously asked about Matty Longstaff of Newcastle. He was out of contract at the end of last season, but he signed a new contract with Newcastle. All right, so Watford want him. Newcastle don't want Matty Longstaff to go unless they bring someone in. And guess what? Full circle, as we've been telling you, they want Leicester's Hamza Chowdhury. Leicester want a replacement for him before they let him go. That's Nathaniel Chalobah. OK, so those three...
You've done well there.
Yeah, I don't know whether the viewers understand it or not. Sorry, I can't explain it any different than that, OK? It seems like this, you know, we'll have to start with Leicester as well. And remember that they're also interested in Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well, to complicate things even further. However, Mark, we're just hearing that when it comes to Newcastle, we know that they've been wanting Chowdhury, but we've also been telling you they want Olivier Cham. One of them is more likely than the other now, we're told.
Yeah, our reporter Keith Downey, who's across things in the North East, has been in contact to say a tentative inquiry for Olivier Cham happened, but it seems unlikely that is going to happen. But the Chowdhury deal still possibly could happen. There's 13 hours to go. That's a long time to get a deal done. Newcastle fans, I guess you can start to get excited because Chowdhury might happen.
Yeah, and that domino effect there would have to come into play. We've been saying that Newcastle want the central. I've got no idea what that noise is. If you can hear it, I'm sorry. Central midfield, we know they want Chowdhury. We talked about a left back there. Jetro Williams was ruled out by Steve Bruce, wasn't he? Because he hasn't played enough, so he's not going to be going back to Newcastle at this stage. Any other names? Is Brandon Williams the only other name that we've got for them?
He is. Brandon Williams the only one, right? No one wants to let their players go during this time now of COVID, where players are, you know, not just not fit because they're not fit because they're not playing, not fit as well because obviously a lot of them have been struck down by COVID. Brandon Williams was the one they wanted. You can understand why when you watch these performances last season for Manchester United. I do think he would have had a big part to play for Manchester United this season if it wasn't for the performances and the comeback, and we have to say comeback, of Luke Shaw as well. Luke Shaw's been blighted by injuries, out of form. Telles was brought in as the number one choice to play left back. Luke Shaw's usurped him now, so they're definitely 1 and 2. And you kind of wonder why you don't want to let Brandon Williams go out and play football. But again, Man United have so many games between now and the end of the season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has come out and said, you know what, we want to keep him. Yeah, keep your tweets coming in. #transfer talk. We're going to be running through a few deals that we've been talking about throughout the whole window. And Mark, Josh King, we thought that he would leave this month, and we haven't really talked about him very much, have we? What's the latest?
In fact, we seem to be speaking about Joshua King in every single transfer window. This time last year, he was linked with a move to Manchester United. They had 2 failed bids to try and take him to Old Trafford and link up with his former Manchester United manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who worked with him in the youth setup. That didn't happen. Over the course of the summer, there was more speculation and talk as well that he'd link up with West Ham. On deadline day in the summer, Bournemouth turned down a £13 million offer from West Ham. That move didn't happen. And once again, we've been speaking about him throughout the course of this January. He hasn't scored a championship goal yet. He got a couple of goals in the FA Cup. I think there's still a chance that this could possibly happen. But, you know, it's one of those, you'd think by now there'd be a clear club that was interested. He has said to Jason Tindall and the management team at Bournemouth that if he stays at Bournemouth, he's happy to stay, work hard, play, earn himself, his place in the team, start games, score some goals, and then potentially move on in the summer as a free transfer. But, you know, there's a lot of clubs that are looking, West Ham are looking for a striker, Everton are looking for a striker. There are a number of sides that want to add to their attacking ranks, and Joshua King is a player that's played in the Premier League for 5 seasons, so could fit into any Premier League side with that experience.
It was this time last year that we talked about Manchester United wanting him on deadline day, wasn't it? But in the end, they went for Odion Ighalo on loan. Right. The very top of this show, Ade, we had breaking news that Ben Davies is going to have his medical this morning at Liverpool ahead of what I think you could describe as a shock move from Preston for around about £2 million. And the feedback we're getting here on #transfer talk has been fairly positive from Liverpool fans. Does it just make sense?
Yeah, shock move, but an important one. Mark said he's watched him at Preston North End and he's a standout player. Look, Liverpool have used 12 centre-back combinations so far this season. Obviously, due to the injuries to Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez, and the injury now to Joel Matip and Fabinho. So it's desperation time to Liverpool as well. You don't want to see Jordan Henderson, as good as he's been playing centre-back, that's not his natural position. You do want to see him back in midfield. Nat Phillips has come in. No one expected Matt Phillips to still be at the club, let alone come in and start some games. Has looked good in the last couple of games against Tottenham and West Ham. Reece Williams had a go as well. Has been a bit shaky, but you would expect that from a 19-year-old. So it's important that an experienced pro, and let's not forget that, at 24, he's got a lot of games under his belt, does Ben Davies. An experienced pro can come in and I think go straight in as well. I know we were speaking there off camera about will he go straight into the squad? He has to go straight into the squad just because they're desperate. And I said Jordan Henderson can't continue to play at centre-back. He needs to go back into the midfield. So I think, yes, it's a stopgap, but I think it's a stopgap that could turn into something exciting. He's a young player. We know Jurgen Klopp likes to develop young players. We've seen it at Dortmund and at Liverpool. And we could see Ben Davies go on to do really good things at Liverpool.
He's played 250 games in the EFL. You know, that's a lot of football for a young man that's still in his mid-20s. And I think he'll just bring that footballing quality that Liverpool like at the back. He's a defender that can play out from the back. I watched him just a couple of weeks ago. Quite amazing to see him at Ashton Gate in the Championship. And now he could be playing in the Premier League against the likes of Manchester City, Manchester United, and even perhaps those teams in the Champions League. What an opportunity for the young lad. And great to see Liverpool making moves. We got the sense over the course of the last week, perhaps a week ago, Jurgen was quite coy on whether they'd sign anyone. He didn't think the funds were available. And then as the window has ticked away, they've gone out and got someone who potentially could be a really good asset. And once again, this is a huge advert that there are good quality players in the Championship, in League One. We had the Rochdale manager on earlier talking about Quadrabar. He could be the subject of a big move today as well. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Hint, hint there.
But the EFL, they have good quality players, good quality youngsters, and when they're given the opportunity, you never know what could happen.
Well, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, if you're just joining us, he's the subject of, well, at least 3 Premier League clubs want him on loan. Leicester have joined the race along with Southampton and West Brom, and fans have been getting in touch, Ade, and every club linked with him want him.
You can understand why they do want him as well, just because of his versatility as well. This is a guy that can play right back, can play left back, can play central midfield. Obviously, that's his ideal position to play, but if you are a club, you know you've got a player here that can play any position. 23 years old, good engine on him, broke into the England squad as well. I think he had a good back end to last season. If he can get to that back to that form, that Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who everyone's talking about an outside shot for the England squad for the Euros, then I think every team's got a good player on their hands. I am shocked that Mikel Arteta is going to let him go. As I said, he's played 21 times for Arsenal, only started 5 Premier League games, but him coming off the bench for that versatility shows how important he is for Arsenal. So it does shock me that Arsenal would want to let him go. So I do think it's the player saying he wants to go out and play first-team football rather than Arteta saying go out and play first-team football.
A bit more news that we brought you is that Danny Rose is unlikely now to join Trabzonspor. It looks like he will see out the rest of his contract, which ends at this summer from Tottenham, so it looks like he's going to sit out the rest of the season because he's not in the squad. And Mark, this is, Ade and I said this on deadline day, this is a real surprise, a real shame, isn't it, for him?
Well, he's a player that should be playing football. You know, all footballers should be out there playing football in a place where they're happy, they're comfortable, and when they're happy and they're comfortable, they're going to be playing the best football. So it seems like he's a player that's got so much to offer, just needs to find the right place.
Right, well, that is it for Good Morning Transfers. Ade Oladipo and Mark McAdam, thank you very much indeed. It's been a very busy morning, but the rest of the team, they return at 1 p.m. Dave Reed is in the chair with Emma Payton and Anton Tolui. They'll be with a host of reporters based around Europe. The deadline, of course, is 11 p.m, so stay with us. Our deadline day coverage continues. Rob Watton is next with the football show. Nigel Pearson, David James and Stephen Warnock are all within this morning. What a lineup, that's next.